I have so much that I want to do, and I can't seem to get it done. I can't seem to make myself be organized enough to get it all done.
Well, what are you trying to get accomplished?
Everything. I have books I want to read. I have quilts I want to finish. I have lots of projects I want to finish, and I'm running out of time.
Well, tell me a little bit about you.
Okay. Well,
I mean, the books and the quilt are all very nice, but that's not your basic responsibility in life.
No. Well, okay. I'm 61 years old.
Okay.
And I still work 3 days a week.
All right.
And I'm very happy there, and that's fine.
What do you do?
Well, I work with nursing home patients.
All right. Now, is this because you like to, or because you have to keep bread on the table?
Both.
All right.
And I'm
so you do get to work on time and get that done.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, you're organized in the thing that you have to do.
Right.
Okay. Do you have a family?
No, just me.
All right. Do you get your house clean and so forth?
Yeah.
All right.
It seems like that's all I have.
But you're organized at least to that extent.
I guess so.
You get the shopping done and that sort of thing.
Right. And when the dishes get dirty, they get clean somehow.
And you get your bills paid.
Absolutely.
All right. So far, so good.
Right.
What you're telling me is that you don't seem to find time for the non-essentials.
Right. And I've read books. I swear teasers. I buy books about how to be organized, and it tells me to make lists. By the time I'm done making my list, I don't have time to do what it says to do on the list. Now you're laughing
well, it shouldn't take that long.
I'm telling you the truth.
Well, maybe you're getting bound up in minutia.
Well, that's minutia, huh? It's, out here we call it something else, but it sounds like minutia.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this is cow country out here, but
I got you covered.
Anyway, what happens is, I mean, I have a list of like 100 things that I want to get done before I die, and it seems like maybe part of my problem is I get into the middle of something and I think I'm spending too much time doing this.
All right, hold on. So why don't you ration your time? Now, let's slow down a little bit.
Okay.
For example, you say you like to read, all right?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, why don't you put aside a certain time of the evening? Let's say from 9 to 11 in the evening. And the only thing you're going to do in that period of time is read. That's it. And if you don't read, you do nothing. You don't do dishes, you don't listen to the radio, watch television, read the newspaper, you read hardcover novel or hardcover book during that period of time. We'll say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, whatever. But that is your time for reading, and that's it. And that's all you're going to do during that period of time. There's a little discipline, just as if you had to go to work during that time. This is your special time for that. Yeah, make some lists, but I mean, it shouldn't take you more than a few minutes to make a list, not the rest of the day. I have a feeling that you were laboriously making the list and covering every little detail down to the...
That's true.
But you see, that's the minutia I was describing a moment ago. Don't get lost in that. Just talk in the terms of generalities. You see, the one thing that you have to share with the rest of the world is your time. You have the same number of hours, minutes, and seconds as everyone else. But I have a feeling that you're squandering the deposit in your account.
I think you're right.
If you mentioned quilting or something, fine.
Right.
But in a certain time of the day, that's quilting time. One day a week. Let's not take any more we can digest. But let's make it one day a week. But on that one day, by golly, you're going to spend an hour on a quilt. That certain hour. I don't care if there's a flood in Brazil, Indiana, you are going to work on that quilt for that hour. And just take 2 or 3 projects like that and don't try to do the whole thing at one time. Get the reading and the quilting in. That's it. You're doing the other things, and apparently you'll continue to do those. So just work those 2 things into your schedule. And then add a third thing as maybe a year from now, or 6 months, or 2 months. Once you get those down, that pattern down. See, frequently, we try to bite off and digest the entire meal at one gulp, and then you doesn't get sick. I think
it's just, I just keep feeling, I get panicked because I keep feeling like, I have to get it all done. I want to do it all.
Slow down. You see, you're racing through this conversation.
Yeah.
You can't get it all in one shot. Just one thing at a time. 2 goals. You're going to spend an hour a night reading, and you spend 1 hour a week on the quilts. When you get that licked, you give me a call back, and we'll go to the next order of business. Buffalo, New York, it's your turn. Welcome to Talknet.
Hi, Mr. Williams.
Hello there.
I just listened to your advice for Brazil, and it seems like it hits us right in the head.
Uh-oh.
My brother and I are involved in we started off in tennis retail.
Tennis?
Yes, and then we moved into licensed products for the sporting goods with the National Football League and those type of products.
Yeah.
And then we picked up a few lines to represent.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got back from the Super Show in Atlanta.
So how you making that? You making money?
Oh, we're making money.
Good.
It's just a question. We want to make it the maximum amount, but it seems we picked up about 17 other companies that want us to represent their...
Are you able to do that?
At this point, I don't think it's possible.
Well, why would you pick up 17 if you can't represent 15?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you get a little greedy, I guess.
Yes.
Like the kid in the candy stores, your eyes are a whole lot bigger than your ability to digest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you're going to be nothing to nobody.
That's exactly it.
I would go back and take a look at that list, and if it's best you're able to, prioritize them. But the number one company, by golly, I wouldn't care what's going to go on. We're not let that company get away.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two and so forth. Then you have to sit down and figure out how much you are able to legitimately service. And the other guys, you can establish a relationship sometime in the future. You say, honestly, we don't want to tie you up because we know you deserve better than that. But we hope we can do business in the future. And really concentrate on the top. Good luck. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Waldorf, Maryland, it's your turn. Welcome to Talknet.
Hi, Bruce. On many evenings, I've heard you very kindly admonish a lot of your listeners about the mistake that they may have made in purchasing a timeshare.
Yeah.
So I know how you feel about timeshares.
Well, it's really not so much of a feeling as a reaction to reality.
I know. But I have hope for them. I'm not going to mention any names or telephone numbers, but I ran across an ad in one of our little Waldorf free, distribution things, and it says, "Got a campground membership or timeshare? We'll take it. America's most successful campground and timeshare resale clearinghouse. Call blank, blank, blank."
Is it in somewhere in Virginia?
It's got an 800 number.
Mm-hmm.
9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And there are companies that do that.
Yeah.
But wait a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
But what is the percentage?
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's right. You're
Might be 10 cents on the dollar.
How much?
Might be 10 cents on the dollar.
That's right. So somebody is still in Stuck City.
But the thing is, if these people are desperate to unload it and they can't find a buyer per se, this may be their last resort to at least unload it to get a couple of dollars out instead of being stuck with it.
Well, beyond getting a couple dollars out of it, it also takes the obligation away from them in some cases. But and timeshares are still a lousy deal for most of us.
I know. I've got friends that own them and they love them, but from hearing a lot of the people that call in your place, I personally prefer to stay away, and I just wanted to share this with some of your listeners.
Yeah, I would. Was one of the well, there's at least one agency, and the folks had asked me to stop by, and I responded I'd be glad to get together when I was in their town, and I was, but I didn't hear from them. It was probably just too busy a day for me. They weren't able to get to me. I mean, I'm sure the deficiency was mine, not theirs. But when you have to sell something at that much of a discount, the answer is stay out of the business altogether. But if you are going to buy one, would clearly buy one from one of the discounters. Don't buy direct.
Absolutely. I met people that purchased theirs about 10, 12 years ago when the prices were maybe 20 or 30% of what they are now. I think it was a good buy at that time.
No, it wasn't.
People that are buying them now are going to lose their shirts.
Wasn't a good buy then either.
Really?
No, sir. Really wasn't. I wish you well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
No, it wasn't a good buy then. It won't be a good buy now. Mount Clemens, Michigan. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. How are you doing?
Okay.
Long-time listener to you, and I know that you say, well, why pay mortgage payments on the first of the month when they give you the 15-day extension, right?
It's not an extension.
Well,
it's a
grace period.
That's right. It's the period of time when you can pay it and be just as good as the guy who pays on the first when you pay on the 15th.
Right. Well, I got a letter from our mortgage company, and they start out by saying that, as you probably know, mortgage payments are due on or before the first of each month.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the 16th, then they levy a
late fee.
Late fee.
Mm-hmm.
What puzzles me is on this letter that I got, they say in the second paragraph, while the late charge is not assessed unless your regular payment is presented in person or by mail after the 16th of the month, a consistent mid-month payment history could be viewed unfavorably as a credit reference.
There's a word that refers to a male bovine.
A what?
a cow, a bull,
Yeah.
and ending in we can't say on the radio.
Right.
Forget it. I don't blame them. They want their money quicker if they can find a way to intimidate you.
Yeah, but how can they get by intimidating you to sell them?
Easy. They didn't say it would. They said may.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it will. Never hurt me. And I buy and sell property regularly, and I borrow money in copious quantities, and I pay them on the 15th, and they keep lending me money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the same institutions. It's not I have to go from flower to flower.
Right.
Because I use the same 3 or 4 institutions for financing whatever I'm involved with. And I've seen my credit reports. And they're, spotless with regard to those institutions.
Yeah, but I don't understand how they can threaten you like that.
They didn't threaten you.
Their free automatic mortgage plan.
They didn't threaten you. Well, what they want then is to debit it out of your account, right?
Right.
Oh, isn't that nifty poo? You go for that, I mean, you got sucker tattooed on your chest.
Right.
Sure, you save the cost of the stamp and you save the cost of writing the check.
Or standing in line, as they say.
Well, who stands in line? and you lose the 15-day float 12 times a year times however many years that the money is outstanding. From their perspective, look, they're doing what's in their best interest, and I don't hate them for that.
Yeah.
You must do what's in your best interest, and I certainly can't hate you for that.
Right.
You got to take advantage of the system where it's rather, the analogy might be weak, but when it comes to income tax, we're talking federal income tax, or the same would apply to other income tax areas. You are encouraged to avoid taxes.
Right.
You are not encouraged to evade taxes. They are 2 separate words. To avoid is proper. To evade is illegal.
Right.
And you should avoid paying any more money and interest than one has to pay.
Right.
And that doing what I've described avoids it. And banks do not give report cards. You don't get an A for the first, a B- for the 11th, and a D- for the 15th. It's pass-fail. And that's a fact.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Take good care.
Bye.
I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around for more. I'm so pleased you're here. This is Talknet. Waukesha, Wisconsin. You have an insurance company there for some reason, I think.
Pardon?
Do you have an insurance company named Waukesha or something?
No, not that I know of.
Well, it's Warsaw, whatever.
Yes,
okay, anyway, what's on your mind, lover?
Well, we have a problem. We live on a lake. We've just recently received sewers within the last year.
Well, that's a break.
Well, we're not so sure. We're wondering how we can check on a chairman to have conflict of interest.
Chairman of what?
The township.
Wait a minute, the chairman of the town?
Yes.
You don't have a mayor?
No, we have a chairman.
And this is now wait a minute, let's make sure we're into the right terms here.
Okay.
This is a political subdivision.
Right.
Where you pay your taxes to these folks, they run the schools and all that sort of stuff, the police department.
Correct.
And you have a chairman?
Yes.
Sounds like we're in Soviet Union here.
You're very close.
All right, you got a chairman.
Yeah.
All right. So why are we looking over the chairman with this fisheye?
Okay. We have given them the town. There's 3 members on the board.
They're elected, I take it.
Correct.
How big a town, by the way?
4,000 people.
Okay. You got 3 members. They run the town.
Right.
What do they call the other guys?
Supervisors.
Okay.
Okay. We have petitioned the town for some kind of control on our subdivisions that are going to be popping up in the development.
What kind of controls would you like?
Well, the petition asks for 2-acre lots, a town plan to know where we're going.
All right, hold on now. Let's take it one at a time. You want 2-acre lots. How big are the existing lots now?
Well, some of the farmlands are 79 and 100 acres.
Yeah, those are but how about lots? How big is your lot?
Well, our lot is probably less than a half acre.
Well, how can you, in conscience, ask the next guy to have 2 acres and you only got a half acre?
We live on the lake, and this is surrounding a lake.
So what?
Well, this is what the town people have asked for.
I'm asking you, how does one justify having some of the people living on half-acre lots?
Well, I guess it would be grandfather clause. I don't know.
Well, it's not. There's not a question of grandfather. They're existing lots. I
Right.
understand that, but how do you go to the new guy in town and say you got to have 2 acres, but I can sit here and squat on a half acre?
Well, I don't know. This is what the townspeople would like.
Well, I know what the townspeople would like, but I mean, you see, you have unless you can carve out a whole zone and make it a premium zone, the courts are going to say, on what basis do you predicate this?
Mm-hmm. Well, this.
And why do you think they're going? And no, okay, you want to have a master plan. A master plan is a decent request.
Okay.
It's expensive, you realize.
Well, the county said that they would do it for nothing.
I'd be distrustful, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things we're wondering about. There is a plot of land that is zoned agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
They would like to. They've also put a moratorium on rezoning right now.
On rezoning?
Correct. As of this last week.
I mean, all right, go ahead.
Okay. They excluded this plot of land that's agriculture. They want to put up condominiums, dredge out a marsh, and attach, a pier to the lake. And, of course, have more people on the lake. The chairman, however, is excluding this parcel in the moratorium. And we, as people, he's had several meetings with the land developers by himself. He has excluded another town board member and asked her to leave because it would have had to been in the paper and had to been notified as a meeting.
Yeah, okay. They have some kind of a sunshine law in your area.
That I'm not.
You probably do. You probably have a law that says if 2 guys get together, that's a call a meeting.
All right.
So he kicked her out, rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Okay, he had the engineer there and the builders there.
All right.
What we were trying to find out is you hear all kinds of rumors.
Yeah, everybody wants to believe he's a crook.
And they want to know how we could find out if there's a conflict of interest, why he's pushing this through so fast.
Well, you see, you're not going to like what I got to say.
That's right. I've listened to your program many times.
Okay. And you didn't like what I said,
That's
right?
That's right. I'm just calling for all of us. We just didn't know where to turn anymore.
What did you disagree with already? I'm curious.
We've had the DNR. We've had.
No, I mean with me. You said you've been disagreeing with me.
No, I didn't mean you. I've listened to other your programs, and I know how the people feel. I'm strong. I can take that.
All right. Here is the thing. You have a lot of problems with what you're, and as you may know, I was a mayor for a while, so I've been down this road.
That's right.
There's we have the last man in, close the door syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Means you got yours. Let's not let anybody else in town.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a problem with that. There's a moral problem, there's a legal problem. The moral problem is obvious. The legal problem is you cannot tell people they can't use their land.
No.
You can't.
Right.
Now, you can tell them that there are reasons of health and welfare and whatever. We got to have a diversity of zoning, and you can probably get away with some 2-acre zoning and some acre and some 3, maybe. I don't know, depending on the size of the community.
Mm-hmm.
But you just can't walk in and say, okay, everybody's got to have 10 acres because they'll go to court, and the court will smash you right in the mouth. And then you got a real problem. Instead of doing the planning locally, the courts are doing your planning, and they will invariably do a poorer job than you can do locally. But you got to do it reasonably. What you ask for must be reasonable. Now, I don't know why this particular individual is trying to keep this one property out of this building moratorium. I guess that's what we're talking about. I don't know the answer to that. It's a legitimate question, but there may be some legitimate answers, too, that they applied before the moratorium began. And there's no point in going to court because our attorney says we're going to lose and we're just going to spend a ton of taxpayers' money fighting him. There's no point in going to... So many communities go to court to fight developers, right? And all they do is get the development anyway, but they spend a ton of your money on lawyers. Doesn't make a lot of sense. If you know you're going to lose, negotiate.
Negotiate.
Absolutely. Now, go ahead.
That's what somebody said. If they would rezone it, you probably would have more control on what would be coming into. Instead of 60 condominiums, they might have 20.
Well,
might have a further setback from the water.
Well, that may well be, but you see, 60 to 20 is not reasonable. You're going to reduce the density by 2/3. That's all very well from your point of view, but how about his point of view? He's got to invest so much money for sewer and water and the rest of that stuff.
Well, his election is coming up.
It's not his election. It's the Honey, don't you realize when he comes and goes, a developer owns that property is going to sue you if you try to take away his rights. And you know who has to pay for that suit?
You know, it's funny. I tell my husband all the time that he's in business. If they bid on a job, they do not make money on every job. You lose on some jobs, you make on some.
That's
you
true.
don't turn around and sue the person that you lost money on. I said, I feel like I'm in the same situation.
No,
that
you're
I'm
not, because you're changing the rules in the middle of the game.
Okay.
That's the difference. If the property was zoned for, well, let's take your property. I'm going to go around the corner just a moment. I'm going to ask you and see how honest a lady you are. Okay?
Okay.
Stick around. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. I'm talking with a lady in Wisconsin. I'm not going to mention the name of the city again because we're talking very much about her town. But she is concerned, like many citizens, about the growth of the community and which way it's going and the zoning and so on and so forth, right?
Yes.
But let me ask you this. Now, you live in your home. Is that correct? And this is preposterous. You recognize this. This cannot happen. But let's assume that the law would allow it to happen. Okay?
Yes.
And you live in you put a lot of money in your home and you love it and you cherish it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Suppose they passed a law and said only pregnant spinsters with peg legs can purchase your property. Now, that would really reduce the value of your property geometrically, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be happy with that? If the guy next door who's not intending to sell says that's a great idea because this way nobody else is going to buy it and move in. But from your point of view, your life savings just went down the toilet, didn't they?
Yeah.
Wouldn't make you too happy, would it?
Well, you know, I always say, and we love our neighbors dearly that sold the farm.
Mm-hmm.
He had every right to sell his home and his farm
And
as we do.
where he labored to you put yours in the stock market, he put his in the ground.
Right, and I don't have any feelings bad feelings. I think they all deserve. It's the only thing I thought we could maybe control what comes in.
Well, wait a while. But he's not going to be able to sell it if you do it your way. If you
But how did he know that already? They plotted everything out before they even know if they could be rezoned.
Well, he applied to the planning commission, I assume, to get that done. That's what you have these things for.
Well, that's the question.
Well,
See, one is zoned agriculture, and the other side is zoned already residential. One has the county, but the other one does not have the town yet. And this is what we're trying to.
Well, look, the answer is you take an interest in government, get involved. Get elected yourself. But understand something. You've got to be reasonable. Because if you're not reasonable, the courts are going to do it for you. That you said there's some people who own 70 or 80 acres, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you do, not you personally, but what a lot of your neighbors want to do, you'll reduce that property to no value.
Right.
And you think they're going to stand still for that?
Well, I can't say there would be no.
No, but it's going to reduce the value significantly. You know that.
For what they're seeing, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can't hate them for not wanting that to happen. So you got to have a balance. But the big thing that's happening in your town, I can hear it, is last man in, close the door.
Yeah.
Because how long have you been there?
21 years.
Okay. You can remember when some of your good friends now were the they that we didn't want in our community. Isn't that true? Mm-hmm. Isn't that right?
And who's in? Yes.
Yeah. You say, we don't want them here. Well, now they're here and they're your friends. But 15 years ago, they were the ones that we don't want them living here.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
And unfortunately, that's the price of progress. Now, control, yes.
Within reason.
Within reason, because as soon as you lose reason, the courts are going to take it. And I think the courts have an obligation to. So better you do it reasonably. Well, the guy wants 60. I don't mean you got to give him 60, but you don't give him 10.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it.
Because there's another side of that, too, and I got to let you go. Do you have children?
Yes.
Don't you think your kids should have a right to live in your town if they want to? If they want to.
They're the ones that are complaining.
Oh, because
they don't want to give up our wildlife and our marsh.
But do they have property of their own?
No, that we're right across from this land.
But your children live with you mean?
Yes.
Well, they have no right to complain. They don't. They don't own any property.
No.
But the point is, you might ask those kids, this is terrific, but you can't, we're going to kick you the hell out of here when you I hope you're going to kick them out. Mm-hmm. Where are you going to live? Are you going to buy a house here? We don't want you, because that's what they're saying. They don't want your kids. They don't want my kids in my town. Well, I got involved in politics and we got the housing. I don't like it so much. When I moved into my community, we didn't have a traffic light. Not one traffic light in town. Yeah, now we got high rises and the whole works. But the corollary is that there's a place for my kids to move into the community. I had 5 kids. That means 5 separate residences, doesn't it?
I guess what was bothering us most is all this underhanded type thing.
Well, you
that
see.
we feel that.
But that's the. Whoops! What was that?
Sure.
Oh my goodness gracious! I got a feeling they heard about you reporting them now. You're a linus dead. Well, any event, the operative word is feel. Everybody wants to believe the politician is a crook. I'm here to tell you it's not true. Majority of them are honest. Some are pretty stupid, but they're honest. But you have a right to know what's going on in your community. But you got a price to pay for that. You got to take an interest. Instead of listening to radio, watching TV, or making love, you got to go to council meetings. You got to get involved. And that's what it comes down to. I do wish you well. Dallas, hello there.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
I am doing very well, thank you. What's on your mind?
My wife and I were considering purchasing a duplex and renting out one side and living in the other side.
Uh-huh.
Recently, we discovered that there's bond money available.
I'm sorry, there's what?
Bond money from the government.
Oh, you mean local government?
Right.
Yeah, so you can get a low-interest loan.
Yeah, 1% lower. But this is only available if you if you purchase one side of a duplex.
It's not available for investment property.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about purchasing one side of a
I'd buy both sides and get the income.
Would you?
Yes, sir.
Even with the extra percent?
Oh, that 1% means little or nothing.
Okay.
Little or nothing.
Also, I was wondering, what kind of problems do you see in doing something like that? What do I need to look into before?
Well, you're gonna buy if you buy both sides of the duplex. I would not buy one side personally under any conditions.
All right.
I would buy both sides.
What are a couple of good reasons for that?
Because you got to deal with somebody on a common wall. You're married to somebody you don't even know.
Right.
I want to
choose your own the other way.
That's right. You choose your tenant and you take care of the entire building.
Right.
Buying an apartment, a co-op, or a condominium where there's dozens or hundreds is one thing, but just to buy, you get a lousy next door neighbor, you're in deep trouble.
Right.
In terms of trying to sell it to somebody else. No, I would be much more comfortable buying the whole thing and renting out the other side. At one point is not that critical.
Okay,
I do wish you well, my friend. Anything else?
What would I need to do? What would I need to check into before I don't know much about being a landlord. What would I need to check into?
The basic thing to find out is how much can I rent this for reasonably?
Right.
And will that carry its half of the building?
Right.
If it will, I have no problem with it.
Okay.
And look at it this way: you can build equity in a much bigger property that much more quickly.
Yeah, that's
because they're paying the mortgage on the other side.
Okay.
I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around. This is Talknet. Norwalk, Connecticut. What's on your mind?
Hello?
Hello there.
Bruce.
Yeah, we have about 2 minutes to share together.
I'll tell you real quick. About 45 years ago, my father-in-law bought some oil leases out in Oklahoma.
All right.
The area has turned into a very productive general area in the Anadarko Basin.
Mm-hmm.
About 8 years ago, somebody came along and bought the leases for a period of 3 years, paid us $6,000, and they were always going to drill next door, but they never got to our property. Then 5 years ago, a major oil company, one of the 2 or 3 in the business, came in when the other ones expired, and they paid us $15,000 for them.
Sounds like you got a nice thing going there.
Yeah, except that now the market's the depression because of the
oil prices are depressed.
Well, the oil prices, the business is shot out there. And I was wondering if you know what happens now is they're running out. If they don't renew it, which I anticipate they're not going to, we the only way we know of is to just sit around until somebody finds out they're available.
Well, you've been sitting around for 45 years. What's the hurry?
Well, the hurry is that they're drilling wells in the area, and we'd like to at least get somebody to call it to the attention that they're available.
Well, then why don't you do so?
That's what my question to you
was. Hop on an airplane.
Beg pardon?
Hop on an airplane.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way.
Why is that?
I'm a double amputee confined to a wheelchair, and I can't travel. I just wondered if you knew of any way that there are people who we could contact there.
Well, you say we. Who's we?
Well, it's my brother, sister, and all, my brother-in-law, my sister.
Are any of those guys healthy and able to travel?
None of them could go out there.
Why? I'm curious why. I only have a few seconds. Why?
Well, because one of them's retired and is older and living in Maine. And
well, so what? They have airplanes that go from Maine to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you're asking.
When they got there, what would they do?
They would sit down with a local out there and determine who is doing the drilling, what companies and whatever. You could do the whole
Do
thing.
you have a suggestion how we could find a local?
When I got there, yeah, I'd look for somebody in the business of drilling. I'd go out to the rigs and talk to people. You can do so much on site, and doing it long range is very frustrating. Call a chamber out there. They may have a consultant you could deal with, but I'd be there on site. Hey, good luck. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet.
Alrighty, we're going to go to Holbrook, Maine. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
How are you doing, guy?
How are you tonight?
I am well, thank you.
I enjoy your show immensely.
Thank you, sir.
Bruce, my question to you tonight is this. I'm sure you've heard a lot about the declining real estate values, and here's my specific question.
Not only have I heard about them, but I have...
experienced it.
I like that term, experience. Go ahead.
In any event, my wife and I have owned our home for 4 years. Last year, I was considering refinancing, but I had also recognized the fact that there had been some, decline in value. So the banks had suggested before they took my $250 application fee that I get a competitive market analysis by a local realtor. Well, I subsequently did that, and what I found was that do you mind if I mention numbers over the phone?
No reason why not. Go ahead.
In 1988, I bought my home for $146,900. It's a 6-room ranch, okay, with a full basement. 2 years later, I had 2 competitive market analysis done. They told me my home they would consider listing it between $129,000 and $139,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in light of the most recent decline in interest rates, I says, gee, it'd be really good if I could have a shot.
At least at a lower interest rate. What are you paying now?
I'm paying 9 3/4.
Okay,
on a 30-year fix.
What did you put down on the house?
I put down 10%, Bruce.
You're in big trouble.
Right. So I'm in a situation now where they tell me it's declined even further to like $112,000, which really flabbergasted me.
Well, welcome to the real world.
Right.
How old are you?
I'm 35 years old.
Well, you see, you're at the age, or at an age, where up until a year or so, or 2 years ago, in your entire lifetime, from the time you took your first breath, real estate was going up.
Right.
It was an unprecedented rise without any hiccups, without any corrections. I mean, it really started after World War II, which is some 7 years now, something like that order. There was nothing in any theory of economics to explain how real estate could continue just in one direction.
Right.
And sooner or later, intellectually, we all knew it had to stop. Most of us, including the guy you're talking to, got piggy and didn't get out, continued to believe it was going to go up. Well, it didn't. And now you're sitting in a situation where you right now have a negative equity.
Right. That's my problem.
But it's all on paper. The question is, do you like your home?
Well, yes, we like our home.
All right, let's just stop right there. Okay. Do you like your home?
Yes, we do.
Are you planning on staying in the area?
Well, that's part of the issue. Due to the nature of the work I do, I'm an industrial engineer. I work in manufacturing, and I don't have to tell you about the decline in manufacturing. It would be my best interest to pursue employment out of the state.
Well, you got a serious problem. How much you put 10 down on? What was the price originally?
$146,900.
All right,
down 10%.
So 146. You put down 14 grand. So you're down to 130 something. Round numbers, you probably owe 130 grand today.
That's a very good estimate.
Okay, and you could best probably sell it for what, 110?
110. They tell me 115. Less a commission.
All right, let's take the best number, 115 less 7 points. We're down to about 109,000.
Right.
So you're going to be, let's make it 110, an easy number to play with.
Right.
You'd have to write a check for 20 grand to walk away clean.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I don't even have that in savings.
Indeed. I think you're stuck with a house.
Right.
The last thing you want to do at 35 is to go into bankruptcy or even into a voluntary repossession.
Well, that was my next question to you. What I don't know if you give legal advice over the phone, but
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not qualified to give legal advice. Let's start with this. Is the mortgage, as far as you know, well, first of all, you'd know this. Was it FHA or VA?
Gee, I feel stupid. I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay, well, the chances are that it's probably was a conventional mortgage.
Yes, it was.
And it was probably in the hands now of Freddie Mae, Fannie Mae, one of those guys.
Well, I know it's been sold a couple of times. I know that. It's been sold at least 3 times.
Right. The point that I'm trying to arrive at, however poorly, and I'm not certain that I can, is whether or not, if there were to be a deficiency, if they'd come after you.
Right.
And I'd say the chances are better than even they will.
Yeah.
And if they sell it at a sheriff's sale, which is customarily the way it's done,
right,
even the deficiency grows even larger because all the bottom fishermen are there buying.
Right.
And you got a choice: pay that off, which you can't do.
Right.
Make arrangements to pay it off over a period of time, which is going to be backbreaking, or go bankrupt, which is not something that I would want to see you do.
Right. Okay. What do you, as far as, what would be the ramifications if I did, say, go into a voluntary foreclosure situation, like 3 years down the road, if I wanted to, buy another home? What is it?
Well, that's what I'm telling you. They're going to come after you for that difference.
Okay.
You're not going to buy any. You're not going to buy another home. That's what it comes down to.
What's your opinion on if I did move out of the area?
I'll tell you what. I've got to kind of catch up on some obligations. Stick around for a minute, okay? I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Alrighty, I'm chatting with a gentleman in Holbrook, Maine. He wants to know what's the ramifications of a voluntary foreclosure because he's upside down in his house due to the decline of real estate, right?
Right, Bruce.
It can kill you.
Bruce, can I make one clarification?
Sure.
This is Holbrook, Mass. I'm sorry. My wife told me to correct that.
Sorry, same thing. Doesn't matter very much.
All right.
Because you said that you could probably move somewhere else.
Well, that's what, most of the manufacturing jobs have left Massachusetts.
They've gone where?
And they're heading more or less for the Sun Belt and the Rust Belt.
Mm-hmm.
So it talking with, networking through my professional associations and whatnot, there seems to be better opportunities outside of Massachusetts.
Very possibly, but you're still stuck with this albatross.
Right. What was you?
How much better?
Well, that's just it. I haven't investigated it to the point where I've turned, I've left all stones unturned.
Well, it's got to increase dramatically to make it worthwhile getting involved in a voluntary foreclosure.
Right.
Or involuntary.
Well, what's your opinion on renting? I could probably rent it at negative cash flow.
How negative?
Probably $300 a month.
That's pretty heavy. How much do you make a year?
You mean combined family income?
Yeah.
About $70,000.
Yes, I would very definitely rent it and take the hit.
Yeah.
You first of all can take a loss.
Yeah.
So that because of your income, you're not foreclosed from taking passive losses.
Bruce, if you do rent out your home, all right, and you go to, so let's say 2 years from now, I saved up another down payment and wanted to buy something else out of state.
Yeah.
Does the bank look at that other
Yes,
mortgage?
they do. They most certainly do as an obligation.
As an obligation.
Yeah. No question.
But I would think the same income ratios, they consider the rental income.
They do, but if I were you,
right,
I'd wait till I got this one sold before I stuck my neck out again. What happens if you lose your tenant?
Right. No, I realize that.
And there's plenty of rental properties around. You're a young guy. You got time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be much more comfortable seeing you rent it.
Okay.
Take the hit. That's what I'm doing.
Yep.
And I'm gambling on the fact that real estate is not going to come back as it did in the 80s.
Yeah.
But in my opinion...
Do you think it'll go down any more, Bruce?
Well, it depends. I don't think you can make a broad generalization.
Right.
There are parts of the country where it went down in the 80s and is recovering nicely now.
Yeah.
There are other parts of the country that were hot as a pistol in the late 80s, and they're getting their brains beat in right now.
Right.
Do I think real estate is going to recover? Of course it will. Real estate is cyclical like everything else. Do I think it's going to achieve some of the ridiculous heights that it had in the 80s?
Yeah,
no, I do not.
I'm not even. I just would look at. I'm looking at least
not realistic.
Break even.
Rob, first of all, I have to leave you, but understand this: breaking even should take into account the fact that you lived there for how many years. That had a value. I do wish you well, my friend. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet.
Talknet. 1-800-743-8000.
All right, we go to the windy city, Chicago, Illinois. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hello, baby.
Hi.
How you doing?
It's so good to talk to you.
Well, thank you very much.
Listen, we got some big-time problems here, and I
What's
thought
happening?
maybe you could help.
Uh-oh, you rascal. What's
It's
going on?
financial.
Yeah, I guess we've all had those from time to time.
We can't get out of it. We are just stranded in neutral here. We can't go forward.
Well, let's talk about you for a moment. Do you say we? I assume that this is a husband and wife caper.
Uh-huh, and
All
2
right.
kids.
All right. How old are you guys?
25 and 24.
All righty. And what do you guys do for a living?
Well, I don't work outside the home, and my husband works at a trucking company.
And what does he earn a year?
About $36,000.
All right. What are his prospects for improving?
Well, he still has about $3 or $4 more an hour to go.
All right. Then what kind of education has Papa Bear got?
High school.
All right. Well,
No
that itself, that's a problem. And when I get back,
he's got a good job. There's no problem with that.
well, there apparently is a problem when more is going out than it's coming in.
Yes.
So I want you to take a deep breath, keep your eye on the Rugrats, and we'll get back together in a minute. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Hey, we have reported to you guys and gals that because of your efforts in making those telephone calls to the Kuwaiti embassy, they have agreed to contribute $10 million to the Red Cross for the relief efforts. And we would like to keep the pressure up on the Saudi Arabians, the United Arab Emirates, and any other the oil-producing nations. Give them a call. Yeah, tell them that you think it's time for them to help us. But we ought to help ourselves as well. So if you'd like, and if you can afford to, $1, $2, whatever it takes, whatever you can spare, just to me, Bruce Williams, Bruce, South Dakota, the check must be made out to the American Red Cross Andrew Disaster Fund. Bruce, South Dakota, 57220. Whatever you can afford. $1 will be fine, $2, whatever. The amount isn't so important as the amount of you that make the effort. They are our neighbors and friends in Florida and Louisiana. Maybe our turn next. Hey, a lot of nice people make this thing happen. They really do. And without them, hey, I got a tough job. Dan Rudd, Walt Hassett, Scott Long, Kevin Delaney, Paul Hill, and me giving an ulcer to Peggy Solomon and Jack Clements. Thank you guys all. I really appreciate it. We go on now. And I think we've already been to Chicago. Oh, yes, we're going to go back to Chicago. The lady's got herself a little problem. Her husband's making $35,000. They're young people in their mid-20s. A couple of little trolls hanging around. But the money's not going far enough, right?
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, I've been there. I haven't been traveling in that canoe. I understand.
Well, see, we see no end here, okay? Now, we filed bankruptcy 3 months ago because we were so in debt.
How far were you in debt?
About $35,000.
How did that happen?
Because when my husband got on this job, we thought, oh, wow, look at this money flowing in. And we went out and we went nuts. We got loans. Whenever we needed money, we borrowed it. There was no problem.
Hey, could you just raise your voice a little bit, hon?
Okay, sorry. And it got to the point where we just couldn't handle it. We had almost all of his checks going out in money every month.
Well,
and we thought, okay, we're going to fix this. We learned our lesson. We're going to get out of it. Well, we got out of it, and we thought we're going to be fine now, but we're still not bringing our heads above water.
Well,
Tomorrow, if we don't come up with like $370, they're going to shut our power off. Now, this is not something that happened overnight. It's been dragging in months and
How much is your rent?
$300 a month.
Do you have a car?
Yes.
Payments?
Mm-hmm.
How much?
$150. See, we filed on our car, and we just picked up one of them new Geo Metros.
All right. A new one?
A new one.
Why in heaven's name did you buy a new car?
Because we wanted to be sure we were going to be able to get around.
Oh, cut me a break. That was stupid. You didn't need a new car.
Well, see, the payments are half of what we used to pay. We're only paying $150.
I'm aware of that, but payments are probably what your generation is hung up on, not how much something costs, but rather what the payments are. You knew the payments were $150, right?
Yeah.
How much the car cost?
$6,900.
Right on the button?
Yeah.
All right, at least you knew the number. Most people wouldn't even know the number.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we knew.
All right. Now, what's your first name?
Lisa.
Lisa. What? Your husband works 9 to 5, right?
Pretty close.
All right.
Actually, afternoons, yeah.
Pardon?
Afternoons, yeah.
From what time to what time?
2 to 10.
Fine. What do you do between 11 and 7 in the morning, Lisa?
Well, sleep.
Well, that should be over.
Oh, he's been talking to me about that. See, I work in the nursing business, and
You're a nurse?
Nurse's aide. And
Can you get a job on the night shift, 11 to 7?
Probably.
Then why don't you?
Well, I've been holding off because
Why?
I left work because I had a baby.
Hey, Lisa, too bad for you. No, you're laughing. I'm not going to be real sympathetic. I mean, nobody went out and went crazy with that money but you. You and your husband. Now, you beat your creditors, which I'm not real enthusiastic over, but you did that. And now you still can't handle it. Now, I don't know what in the heaven's name you're doing with all this money. You got a very small rent. You got a very small car payment. Where's the rest of it going?
Well, okay. We've gotten behind on a few of our car payments, our phone.
Why? Where are you spending the money?
Well, half the time, see, we allow ourselves enough money every week, and it turns out that money is not enough.
Where are you spending the money?
Just doing what I told you. We don't allow ourselves enough, then we've got to write checks.
What do you allow yourself enough for what?
To get by every week.
To get by doing what?
To live.
Does he take his lunch to work? Does he take his lunch to work?
Not usually, no.
What do you mean not usually? He should never buy a lunch out.
Well, I know that, but he still does it.
Huh. Lisa, you're children. You're children with children. You're talking and acting and behaving like a child. Now, there are lots of people living on less money than your husband is earning now.
Yeah, I know.
That's a fact. Now, the first thing you don't know is you don't know where the money's going. But the first thing you need, I'm going to tell you what to do, and I know just as sure as God made little chickens, you're not going to do it. The first thing you got to do is carry a little notebook with you. And every penny you spend, every single rotten cent should go in the notebook for a month. Then you'll know where your money's going. Do you guys eat out?
Once in a while.
You shouldn't eat out. You don't deserve to eat out. Not at all. Not yet. Clothing. How much do you spend on clothes?
$100 a month.
Too much.
Just for the kids, though. We don't really.
How about
I haven't
you guys?
got nothing for myself because I get for the kids.
How about the old man?
Nothing for him either.
And I don't think you need $100 a month for the children either.
Well, there's months that we can't buy the kids nothing.
Well, where are you spending the money, Lisa?
Well, like I said,
No, you haven't told me.
Spending it on the phone bill is so high.
How much? Why is your phone bill so high?
Well, they've just gone since we got behind. They're adding like $100 extra on.
How far behind are you?
Well, to the tune of about $200 to $300 we owe on there.
How much is your phone bill a month ordinarily?
Normally, it's about $50.
Why?
My parents. Well, that's not unreasonable.
Yes, it is. For you, it is. You don't have any money. You're broke.
Well, if our phone bill would be $50 a month, then it wouldn't be such a problem. But since we are so far behind,
but you got behind,
we don't know how to catch back up. That's our problem.
Lisa, the answer catching up, Lisa, and there's only one answer, honey. You're off to look for a job tomorrow morning on the night shift. What does your husband do Saturday and Sunday, Lisa?
Nothing.
Well, get his butt out and working.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
We've
you
been
don't.
going back and forth on me going back to work. But see,
No, how about him?
2 days a week.
What's that?
I can really go back except for the midnight shift.
What's wrong with him?
I worked that for 2 years.
Oh, you poor baby. I feel so sorry for you. My heart is bleeding for you. Hey, Lisa, I drove a cab from 4 in the afternoon to 4 in the morning, 7 days a week when I was in college. And I was older than you are. And I had 3 children. Now, please don't tell me about these terrible hours you're working. I mean, my heart's going pitter-patter. You and your husband are both acting like spoiled children. Now, you're going to have to recognize that. And I'm picking on you deliberately because it's time somebody did.
I suppose so.
You bet your life. It's past time. Do you have parents?
Yes, they live in Florida.
What do they say?
Well, they, they didn't really say too much. I've never really told them anything about our financial situation.
Well, and that's probably why they didn't say anything. If you didn't tell them.
Yeah.
You're probably ashamed.
No, not really.
Well, you ought to be.
We told them we filed.
You ought to be ashamed. You're not ashamed of the fact that you're in up $30,000 worth of bills and you had to go bankrupt? You're not ashamed of the fact that you can't live on your income, you can't pay utility bills? Well, Lisa,
no,
I'm
not happy with it.
I didn't ask you about
Very
happy. You should be ashamed to look in the mirror. You're acting like a child. This was okay when you were running around in short skirts in high school when you were 15. But you elected to get married, to become a parent, and you're an adult. But you're still acting like the fifth. Matter of fact, if I had a 15-year-old to behave this way, I would be disciplining them something terrible. I spent a great deal of time because I think it's important, Lisa. Somebody has to sit you and your husband down and say, it is time to welcome to the adult world. And then you got to say in unison, we have screwed up. We have been immature. We have not done it right. Let's do it right. And among other things, if he's working days, fine. You go out and work nights, he can take care of the kids. And then on the weekends, you can stay home and let him go out and work 7 days. And I don't want to hear these stories with, oh, my goodness, 7 days a week. What is life all about? Life is survival. Life is doing it. Life is taking responsibility for your own actions.
But what do I do in the meantime when I got all these people on our back?
What you do is tomorrow go get a job. 2 weeks from now, you're going to have a paycheck.
Well,
you don't want to hear it.
I'm thinking about it very seriously.
Thinking? Lisa, it's beyond thinking. You're drowning. You have no life raft. You don't want to go back to work. Tough.
No, I really don't.
Too bad.
I have no choice.
Well, that's right. You have no choice. So grow up and tell him, here we got Labor Day weekend coming up. Let him go out to the convenience stores and see if they're looking for help on Saturday and Sunday. What's he doing on Labor Day?
Working.
Just seems to me, I gotta let you go, kid. It just seems to me that you guys would like to have more things, but you're not paid to make the sacrifices. And I'm not real. I have this business of 5 days a week. I have 5 children, none of whom work 5 days a week. Adults, all of whom are older than you are. And I don't feel sorry for them either. I surely don't feel sorry. I only feel sorry for you and your attitude. We back to the same thing I've said so many times, Lisa. When you look in the mirror, do you want to see a woman or a little girl? Right now, you're seeing a very immature girl. It's up to you to decide whether you want to see a woman. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Schenectady, New York. It's your turn. Hello there.
Good evening, Bruce.
Hi.
First of all, I want to thank you about the Florida relief information. My brother is a Homestead resident. And he lost just about everything down there, but they're getting back.
Indeed, but I think as Americans we should support them, and I think the nations that have lived so well because of us also owe that support.
Absolutely.
What's on your mind?
The reason I'm calling you, I've had a small business up here since 1974. And
can you raise your voice just a tad?
Sure. I've had a small business up here since 1974. And I've purchased vehicles through the business. We do a little pickup service. The most recent one I purchased, brand new, was a 1989 vehicle. And in 1990, I brought it in for, it wouldn't hold a fast idle, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyways, I brought it back approximately 10 times for the same type of thing, and what they did was a valve job. They put EGR valves in. They did all kinds of things. The final thing they did was they actually put a new head in the car at about 58,000 miles.
And because it wouldn't idle properly?
Well, that's what I first brought it in for.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me at that time that a valve was sticking. By the way, I had purchased an extended warranty. I had a 660 and 60,000 mile warranty on it.
Okay.
So they did that. I didn't pay a cent. They put a new head in finally at 58,000 plus miles.
What was the problem with the head?
I have no idea. It was leaking oil, not burning oil, but leaking oil. And they said the head was warped.
Well, now you just told me the head was warped. I don't see what that means.
Right. So they put a new head in.
Right. Mm-hmm.
This is like, I'd say 2 years after I first brought it in.
Right.
At 60, well, it's got 62,000 plus miles on it now, and it blew a rod and blew a hole right through the engine. And my question to you is...
Go ahead. Why did it let go a rod? Must have been an oil problem someplace.
No, it never lost oil pressure. There's oil still in the engine.
It doesn't necessarily mean oil was getting to that rod.
Right. My question is, they're hee-hawing around because now it's over the warranty, and yet it doesn't come under the lemon law because it's a commercial, registered as a commercial vehicle.
Right.
My question is, they offered to pay half of it. They've jacked the price up to like $2,400 on a repair. I can get a rebuild engine put in there for like $1,000, I know.
No, not $1,000. Not rebuilt. A used engine. But
I'm sorry, from something from a junkyard.
Yeah, well, there's quite a difference between the two
I'm
things.
sorry. Yeah, this engine is beyond repair.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can I pursue this any farther? I mean, I don't consider this, since it was brought in...
Well, the question is, well, I'll tell you what, I'm a little behind in my responsibilities. When I get back, I think what we have to explore is, was there a relationship of any kind, shape, and regard between the work that they did and this new work? When we get back, let's talk about it. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet.
Talknet. 1-800-743-8000.
Unhappily, our friend in Schenectady, we lost. But recapping what he had to say was he had a truck fixed at 58,000 miles of warped head, and at 62,000 after the warranty was out, he blew a rod. The question is, was there any relation between the whatever caused the head to warp and the rod going? If there was, then I think clearly they have some responsibility. They offered him half, but of course it would appear inflated half. If there was no correlation between the two, I mean, sooner or later, warranties do expire. And of course, there's always the venue of small claims court. I doubt seriously if they would make arbitration available to him. But there comes a time when you're on your own, is what it comes down to. Salt Lake City, Utah. Hello there.
Hi.
Hello, baby.
I'm a long-time listener, a first-time caller, and we really like your advice, and so my husband said to call you. We have a problem.
Well, when your husband speaks, you jump, right?
Well, sometimes.
Only kidding. I'll get killed for saying that. What's on your mind, dear?
Okay. We purchased a restaurant about 2 years ago from some friends that were having some problems, and it was running okay for the 2 years until last April.
What happened?
And we got behind on the rent.
Well, I mean, what we say it was running okay. Does that mean it was making money?
No, it was breaking even.
What'd you pay for this place?
About $10,000.
It was a very small operation then, right?
Right.
Okay, so you were running it, and now you got behind. Clearly, things are not going too swell.
Right, especially after the first of the year. It's in a mall, and business slows down. And anyway, we got behind on the rent, and we got served with some papers that they were going to sue us for the rent.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened, the problem that we have is that our lawyer didn't see that there was a 3-day notice in the back. The very back paper said that they could serve a 3-day notice or require, I guess it's called a surety bond.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't notice that, and they decided to serve that 3-day notice on the 4th of July weekend.
To kick you out.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so my lawyer was out of town, and so I called up the law firm where the lawyer was, and the lawyer that looked at my file said that, well, don't worry about it. Monday morning we'll go down and we'll file this surety bond, and it should only cost you $150 to $200.
This was the firm that employs your attorney.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Because he said we've handled stuff like this before, and it should only cost about $100 to $200. Well, come Monday morning, my lawyer goes down there, and we have to cough up the whole $5,000.
What whole $5,000?
The cost of the whole bond.
Mm-hmm. Nobody would sell you a bond.
I don't know. That's just what we were,
Well, but you see, what she was talking about was the premium on a bond, and what she was telling you is nobody would issue the bond.
Okay.
Because they're afraid that you weren't good for it.
All right. Well, is that because it got served in July instead of?
No, I just think that they're saying that they don't think that you can afford, that you're going to meet the payments, and they don't want to stick their neck out.
Okay, it has nothing to do with the fact that she missed it in April and that.
I don't know that. I just think what it probably was that they couldn't. When doing a bond is.
It means that you're going to guarantee to pay.
That's right, and I don't think anybody wanted to guarantee that you were good for it.
Okay. All right.
So what happened?
Well, so we're still talking to them and stuff, but anyway, the cost of the lawyers, their law firm and stuff, the place that's suing us is going to be over and above the bond by about $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to have to come up with $7,000, and I mean $2,000 over and above what we've already paid, and we just don't know what to do. We're trying to sell it, and it's just turned into a mess.
The problem is losing money. Who wants to buy it?
Right. But we don't want to default on the lease because technically we're not even on the lease. It's still our friends from 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't want to ruin a friendship by defaulting on a lease.
Well, that's all very well, but what are your alternatives? I mean, is there any way you can get the restaurant on track?
We're trying.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah. It's just everything's slow.
Well, not everything. But this particular store, is there something you can do to make it a little more lively? What kind of restaurant is it?
It's an Italian restaurant.
You mean a sit-down?
No, it's in a food court in a mall.
Uh-huh. And what do you serve?
Everything but pizza. There's another pizza place in there, so we can serve spaghetti, lasagna.
They took the best product away from you, huh?
Right. So we're floundering and don't know what to do. We don't want to just close up shop and leave it in a big mess,
Mm-hmm.
But we're already out that $5,000, and we just didn't know what to do.
Well, there are times when you got to know when to fold and when to hold. How much is the restaurant doing right now? How much is it grossing?
Monthly, weekly.
However you want to express it.
Oh, it's only doing about $1,000 a week.
Well, $50,000 a year. There's no way in the world you can stay in business.
Yeah.
Not even close. What is your rent?
It's on a percent. That's the only thing that's keeping us floating.
What percentage?
It's 11.
That's high, but I mean, so it's a very small rental, though.
Right. Well, it's better than a flat rent. You know?
I understand that, because if it was a flat rent, it would be considerably more. You're talking about $100 a week rent.
Yeah.
A little more, which is pretty cheap to be in a food court.
Right.
But the problem is, as I told someone earlier today, I'd pay $100 a square foot in a location where I can make money. I wouldn't pay $5 a square foot in a location where I can't make money.
Yeah.
And this sounds like one that you can't make money in.
Yeah. We're just floundering. And
well, is there a way that the lease can be broken? Have you discussed that with the landlord?
No, we haven't.
You ought to. How much is the equipment worth?
Oh, used equipment doesn't sell for anything.
Well, it sells for a little. You're absolutely right about that. I told somebody that today, too. Used restaurant equipment is worth very little, but how much?
Right. It's probably only worth about between $5,000 and $6,000.
That much?
Yeah.
That would surprise me. What did it cost new?
They bought it all used.
I'd be surprised if it's worth $5,000 or $6,000.
Yeah.
Be in for a shock. I think you're probably in a situation, my dear, where the chances of selling it as an Italian restaurant grossing $1,000 a week in a food court are slim and none. Given that set of conditions, you'd have talked to the landlord about bailing out of the lease. He might be able to find a tenant that could do more, and clearly, if they do more on a percentage basis, to everybody's advantage. I do wish you well. We have our ups and downs. I've been there. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Saudi Arabia, 202-342-3800, 202-342-3800. The United Arab Emirates is 202-338-6500. However, there is another side to this, my friends, and that's we as Americans who are not affected also have some responsibilities here. I don't mean as a government, I mean as individuals. I was in Florida, yesterday I guess it was, and it's amazing when you're just a few miles away, you don't know what happened, and yet there are people that are literally starving and have so many problems. So I'm going to suggest that our listeners also might want to make contribution. No, we don't have the kind of money that the oil barons have, but a buck here, a buck there, it can't hurt. So if it's, and I by the way, this has been cleared with my bosses at Westwood One NBC. This is okay. Not going to get anybody in trouble. Why don't we send a check or two? And I'm going to suggest you do this. You know I have a post office in Bruce, South Dakota. Bruce, South Dakota. Make out a check for whatever you like. $1, $2, $5 to the American Red Cross Andrew Disaster Fund. That's it. American Red Cross Andrew Disaster Fund. And drop it to me, Bruce Williams. It's Bruce, South Dakota, 57220. It's Bruce, South Dakota, 57220. I'll be repeating this for next week or so. And I'll start it off with my check for $500. Now, I'm not expecting that kind of money from anybody else. $5, $2, whatever you can afford. I think it's not so much how much, that how many people get involved. So, the address is Bruce, South Dakota, 57220, and clearly the check must be made out to the American Red Cross Andrew Disaster Fund or something similar. They'll be able to cash it. Let's show the folks that we're asking to contribute that we ourselves are willing to contribute as well. And I thank you, and God bless you, kids. All righty, from Boise, we go to, are you ready for this? Dewey, Oklahoma. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce.
What's a Dewey, Oklahoma?
What's that, Dewey?
What's a Dewey?
Oh, not much. It's a little old town about 50 miles north of Tulsa.
Uh-huh. KRMG. KRMG country.
No.
That's Tulsa, yeah.
Coffeyville, Kansas.
Oh, is that where you listen from Coffeyville? You're not going to believe this.
What's that?
I was in Coffeyville once.
Oh, you were?
I really was. On the way, God, the things you remember. I was going from Hutchinson, Kansas, I think to an airport someplace, and we stopped at Coffeyville. For reasons that are completely obscure to me, but I was at the radio station there.
Boy, there is no station, no airports around here, hardly at all. They've got one they call Tri-County.
Well, no, I was going from Hutchinson.
Yeah, Hutchinson.
I know I had to wind up in St. Louis. Now, how I got there is something I will never remember.
Well, I'm sure of that.
But I stopped at Coffeyville.
Yeah, all right. Okay, we listen to you on Coffeyville, and bad thing about it, you're preempted by every sports program going, so we don't get to hear you like I'd like to.
Including two kids with a Frisbee, I understand that. What's going on, kid?
Here's what I want to talk to you about. I'm a relatively new listener, but I have listened long enough to know that I made a mistake when I bought some property. And I'm going to see what you think about my little problem.
Let's talk.
I've lived here on this property for quite some time. And the property just north of me has changed hands at least 3 times. You know, it has changed hands several times. And some years back, there was an old couple passed away, and some young fella that I did not know, he was the guy who was appointed in charge. You know, he was selling the property, and he wanted to sell it.
So he might have been their personal representative or their executor.
He was a nephew, I understood.
Well, but his title would be personal rep exec or something of that kind.
Yeah, something like that. Now, he wanted me to buy the back half, and I wanted to buy it, but he wanted too much. So I wound up that my neighbor on the south, he bought the back half. And the older couple bought the front half. And they had to sell here 2 or 3 years ago, so I purchased the front half. And I had told my neighbor 2 or 3 months ago, I said, I think I'll have this thing... You know, I bought it without an attorney.
Oh, boy.
And that's where I made my mistake.
You probably bought it. Did you have it surveyed?
No, this is it. Here is what I told my neighbor. I was going to have the property surveyed, boundaries established, and probably moved his fence back about 10 feet, because you could look south of my property to his dividing fence.
How much property is involved here?
There was 1/2 acre, so there's 1/4 acre apiece. Now.
Oh, that's not very much.
No,
okay.
Not very much. Just, enough for a house and a garage and what have you. So he said no, that he bought up to the fence, and he owns that by eminent domain. He did not.
By what?
By eminent domain.
Eminent domain has absolutely nothing whatever to do with him.
All right.
Eminent domain refers to a right that certain governmental agencies and even some quasi-public utilities might have, but it has absolutely nothing to do with him. What he may be talking about is adverse possession.
He didn't. He said eminent domain.
Well,
Adverse possession wills probably sound all right to me, because I didn't know what the eminent domain was, and it's adverse possession, neither one. I'm not the only person on this particular street that has this problem. On down the line, there is another person that built a building and put about 10 foot over on his neighbor's property. Because no one really knew at that time where the dividing point was. But back to my problem.
But he didn't get a survey either.
No, he didn't either, see. We both bought...
What are you guys all boycotting the local engineers? Is that it?
I don't know what we was doing. Oh. But I have learned, by listening to you, yes, I should have had that survey.
Yeah, you sure should have. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I'm going to take a little time out when I get back.
All right.
I want to know precisely, we've kidded around here, but this gets here, it's a little bit serious. I want to know exactly what you have done to establish what you own. What do you have to establish it? You have something. There may be just a description in meets and bounds down by the old apple tree or something hopefully a little more definitive. A quarter of an acre is a relatively modest piece. And then, of course, we got to get into, was it appropriately and legally subdivided? In other words, was there a planning board commission or whatever that would be delegated to issue the plat? Did they do so? When we get back, we'll talk about it. Because these are the kinds of, and this business of, the guy down the street built 10 yards or 10 feet or 10 inches onto the wrong property. I got a suspicion that there's going to have to be a whole bunch of readjustments here, which, if reasonable people are willing to deal, not too big a deal. One unreasonable person, watch yourself. To be continued. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. I'm talking to a friend in Dewey, Oklahoma. Now, he's got a serious problem. He acquired a relatively modest piece of property. Would appear, though, meets and bounds and surveys and whatever are not exactly in agreement with what he or she, the rest of the people, believe they own. Now, let's start. You have a legal description of this property.
Yes, this is the way we purchased this piece of property.
All right, let's stop right there. You got a legal description.
Right, by a legal description.
Was the property appropriately and legally subdivided?
No, going way back, my folks have owned this property for quite some time and belonged to my grandparents before that. So
what happened to that quarter acre you bought? Was that legally subdivided?
I'm going to say no. Let me tell you this. About in the 50s, somebody bought this piece of property we're talking about, and they had it surveyed, and they found out that 6.5 foot of their garage set over on my folks' property. My folks sold that 6.5 foot to them
to cure the problem,
for they could get a loan. So this dividing lines in this area has been messed up for a long time. So I didn't, at the time that it was sold here, probably 10 years back, I didn't even think about that fence playing a part in.
How many other properties, as to the best of your knowledge, are suffering from these various diseases?
Oh, this one down the street that everyone knows about, where the house, the building got built over on his neighbor's house, and it was there a long period of time before they realized, hey, that this is not correct. That's the only one that I really know. I think the rest of them has, by this time, got their fences pretty well set on the line.
Their fences are only part of the problem. The guy down the street,
yeah,
he may have acquired some interest through what is called adverse possession. The common name is squatters' rights. Mm-hmm. And those laws vary dramatically from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But the fact that the building's been there unchallenged for a number of years, even though somebody knew it was, and that's part of the operation here, you can't cure what you don't know. Mm-hmm. But if the other people knew, he may very well have acquired some rights. What I would do if I were you, and you're not going to like this very much, what I would do is go out and hire a surveyor.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting to do.
Well, that's what I would do. How big is you got the quarter acre, forget that for the moment. How big is the piece you live on?
Oh, I've got an acre.
All right, not much again.
No.
You're talking here, that's 60,000 square altogether. No big deal, unless it goes to the skunk works or something. Call a surveyor. Now, it may cost you a few more bucks because I don't know where they're going to find a monument that's accurate.
No, I don't either. They'll have to go away.
But that's what surveyors get paid for.
Right.
They have to find a starting point someplace, and then they will go from there, and they'll give you the meets and bounds in degrees and whatever. Then they're going to drive stakes into the ground. Now, unless somebody wants to contest that survey, that's what is.
All right, this guy, it makes no difference. He can't claim the property if the surveyor,
I didn't say, no, wait a minute. No, you're putting words in my mouth. That's not necessarily true. You see, we get into adverse possession, and I don't want to get in, I'm not going to get into a long, detailed explanation because I'd probably be wrong. But adverse possession essentially says if someone has uninterrupted use of a piece of property and they care for it, and in some cases pay taxes on it, that's not necessary ingredient, and what other things, that they can acquire by this activity and the lack of activity on the part of the other party, some interest. Let me give you a very well-known example of this. You've watched on television the big old tree at Rockefeller Center? No? You know what I'm talking about?
No, the tree at Rockefeller Center?
In New York City, the big old Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah.
You must have seen that on television.
You're going to be surprised, and I tell you, I don't have a TV. I'm one of the few people that do not have a TV. I never have had one.
Did they ever deliver newspapers to your house?
Oh, yes. I've probably seen the thing, but, it does not register with me at the moment.
Okay. Well, trust me on this one. Every year they put a pretty good-sized Christmas tree in Rockefeller Center. And that tree is on Rockefeller Plaza. It runs between, I think it's 7th, 8th, 49th, and 50th, I believe. All right?
All right.
Now, that street is closed off every year for one day because it's a private street. And eventually, I believe it's going to revert to Columbia University. But the point is to demonstrate that although the trustees allow people to use that like a regular old street, one day a year they shut it down. So that there's no question that there's no adverse possession here, you see.
Oh, all right.
They take they do something positive.
Okay.
And nobody's done anything positive here. What I would do if I were you, I get the place surveyed. Let's find out what the thing says. We also want that attorney you're going to hire to find out, or maybe even your surveyor could do, was the subdivision of that quarter acre appropriately done? You just can't take property and whack it up. You got to go to a planning board or commission or some other agency with the responsibility of doing this. They've got to assign a new lot and block number to it.
Oh, all right.
All that stuff's got to be done, you see. You just can't go out really... I'll leave you with a thought. There is one way you can do it. That's by dying. You want to do it that way? What you can do is you can subdivide property in a will and then die, and in most cases it has to be honored. I think that's kind of a drastic way to go. I'd rather go to the planning board myself. But have all of these things done, then you'll know what you have to do. It may be you have to gather together several neighbors and give and take a little bit, but it's a lot cheaper than litigating it. I do wish you well. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Let's go to Apopka, Florida. Hello there.
Hey, how are you doing?
I couldn't be better, kid. What's on your mind?
Well, I figured out I owe you money.
You do?
Yeah.
Send me the check. Better yet, send cash.
Because of all those years I listened to you late at night going through night school, and I finally got my degree, and I got a new job and made about $10,000 more.
Well, I'm delighted for that.
Yeah, isn't that great?
It is. Hey, listen, but shall I give you the address now or later?
Well, let's do that later.
What's up?
Okay, here's my question. I'm in sales, been in sales for 10 years, and now that I moved to near Orlando, they have a lot of timeshare here.
Yes, they do.
And I was wondering what you thought of that as far as an industry. Do you think it's going to be around for a while? Because I'm considering taking a job in selling the timeshare.
Do I think it'll be around? Yes.
Okay.
Would I recommend it? No.
Why?
Well, I think timeshares, at very best, are right there with investments in international lobster trap, salmon eyes. I'm just trying to think of some other great stuff. Timeshares, and they are, in all candor, there are some, particularly in the area you're in, a couple of companies, major companies, that are bringing certainly the legitimacy of their name to timeshare.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I think the concept of timeshare is legitimate.
I see. So you would recommend, like if it was your son who was thinking about going into sales and timeshare?
I would do my best to dissuade him.
I understand.
My very best to dissuade him, because I think when you're selling something that you ought to believe in it.
I agree.
And I don't think that you can believe in timeshares. Now, there may come a time when these major companies squeeze the others out, and the other variable, and I'm told, but they can't do this legally, and I can't deal with why. I don't know the answer to that, although I've posed the question. If they could say to me, look, we got a timeshare at the XYZ resort, and for the first 5 years, we'll guarantee that if for whatever reason you want to sell it, we'll buy it back at 85% of what you paid. I wouldn't have any problem with that.
Right, that makes sense.
But the fact is that most, and be understand, there's always exceptions to there's usually exceptions to statements. Like the old saw, exceptions make the rule, right?
Right.
I could go in most areas and buy a timeshare that's being sold for $10,000 for two. And the people that sold it to me for two would kiss me on the mouth. That's how glad they'd be ready to get rid of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of those down here where you see the resales.
There's almost no resale market. And the resale market that does exist runs between 15 and 20% of cost. Furthermore, historically, something on the order of 44% of timeshares, interval, vacations, and that sort of thing, 44% of the price has been marketing cost. Well, think about that. Suppose you were going to buy a share of stock and they wanted a 44% commission. What would you say?
Well, the funny thing is, in researching the companies that are involved in this, they seem to spend little money, if any, on marketing. You know how they go about getting people to come to see their little spiel?
Oh, they have people walking around the street with flyers, inviting them in for breakfast and a donut?
Yeah, that can't cost them very much money.
Wait a while.
You mean commission?
Well, that's part of it. And they also, I've had their stale orange juice and whatever in Hawaii. I've had it in the Poconos. I've been to these things, okay?
Right.
And I've been probably the most vocal national attacker of timeshares. I've been offered very, very substantial amounts of money to keep my mouth shut.
Right.
And that, I don't want to appear that was a bribe. No, but I've been asked. One guy offered me $10,000 just to come and look at his place. Just come down for the weekend. I'll pay you $10,000.
Interesting.
I stayed home.
That's probably part of that 44% marketing.
Let's face it. The guys, how old are you?
I'm 35.
You good looking?
No.
You're in trouble.
Really?
Have you been to timeshare pitches?
Once, but I've been to a couple of them since I was considering working there.
Well, by and large, these guys have good tans. They wear decent clothes. A lot of times, if you're in the islands or resorts, they wear the aloha shirts, and they sit there and they have great smiles and whatever. They do the hey, and Mary Jane and John have just bought themselves a unit in the blue-green zone. Yeah, everybody, hey, Mary Jane and John. Poor Mary Jane and John on their honeymoon. They have got 6 bits to rub together, and they've maxed out their credit card for the deposit.
Yeah,
and they'll regret this for the next 15 years.
Well, the ones around here, they don't have a lot of those attractive people, but the guy told me a funny thing. He said, if a couple from New York comes by and they have any credit left and they can get this on payment, they'll buy it, which I thought was...
Well, you see what happens is that people, let's be real for now, for a moment, okay? Particularly in areas such as you're in. You're in a very nice vacation area, the Orlando area. That's Disney, and that's Universal Studios, and SeaWorld, and Church Street Station, and all kinds of good stuff to have a good time in, right?
Right.
So people are having a great time, and boy, wouldn't it be nice to come back here every year. Same thing was true in Hawaii. The Virgin Islands. I was in St. Thomas a month or two ago, and I must have been stopped by a half a dozen people. To go to a timeshare pitch and so on and so forth. And the pitches are all the same. And just the other part of it. First, let's just go through very briefly some of the problems. One of them is that you have to take your vacation pretty much the same time every year. Now they're going to say, yeah, but you can trade your time off for a vacation villa in Hamburg, New Jersey. Isn't that terrific, right?
Right.
And I've had people call, listen, Bruce, I've gone to Hawaii. I've always managed to trade. Yeah, if you can make your reservations a year in advance. And how many of us are in a position to do that?
Right.
But the big thing is that the resale value is so small.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd feel very badly getting some poor soul to spend $10,000 on something they couldn't sell for $2,000. I mean, maybe it wouldn't bother you.
No, I don't want to do that.
It wouldn't bother me.
Yeah, I want to be able to look at myself in the
mirror. When you shave every morning, you don't want to have to look at a crook.
That's right.
Now, that isn't to say every timeshare is a crook. That's not true.
Uh-huh.
That's not true. And it isn't to say that some of these folks really believe what they're doing, because that would be inaccurate. But you asked my opinion.
Right, and that's what I wanted.
I wouldn't go near them.
Okay, thanks.
I do wish you well, kid. I'm Bruce Williams. Hang in for more. We're so pleased and proud you're here. This is Talknet. The city with just one arch, St. Louis, Missouri. Hello there.
Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
Hey, okay, kid. What's up?
I have a situation for you here. Just recently, I just purchased a diamond ring for my future fiancée.
You mean you haven't given it to her yet, huh?
I haven't given it to her
yet. A little
yet.
Mixed emotion here, maybe?
Oh, no, I'm just waiting to hear your advice real quick.
Boy, you make it tough on a guy. Go ahead.
Well, just recently I purchased it, and my situation is she lives with her parents and I live with my parents.
Well, there's nothing unusual about that, I don't guess.
Exactly, but I don't have a homeowner's policy. And I was just wondering, where's the liability? What can I do to insure this? I know it might
buy what's called a jewelry floater.
Okay.
That's all.
A jewelry floater.
It's called a jewelry floater.
Wow.
Any insurance agent, listen, this is nothing very esoteric and it's not dirty. It's just the name of an insurance policy.
Okay.
That's all. How much did the ring cost?
It was very nominal. It was $2,800.
You can buy. Let's hold on now.
Okay.
You can buy a relatively inexpensive policy, and what you want is a policy. Talk to your insurance agent about this. You see, the insurance company can buy that for about half what you paid for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
They don't buy retail.
Right.
So you get the price pretty much down there. No big deal.
Because I sent it away to a laboratory to have it, appraised and...
Where'd you send it?
EGL.
What is EGL?
It's a European Gymnological Laboratory. It appraises it, tells the dimensions, the weight, the color, grades it, everything.
Right. I don't know who they are. There's the GIA is the only one I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one too, but they just told me, hey, send it here.
Well, who told you?
The jewelry store I bought from. Because they send a lot of them there, they say.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I would... All right, there's no point in going through that right now. I don't know who these people are, whether they have a cousin in the jewelry business. I don't know that.
Well, actually, it was my idea. I kind of mentioned it, and they say, well, normally we go through EGL, but you can go through either one.
Which one?
Either GIA or EGL.
Okay, they may be just as good as GIA. I don't know them. But the point being, if you got an appraisal, one that's legit, you can now talk to your insurance company about a jewelry floater. No big deal.
Okay, great.
Matter of fact, that's the cheapest part of this. That's the cheapest part of this whole transaction.
So it's not relatively expensive.
I'm talking about what you're doing now, getting into marriage. The jewelry floater. Trust me on this one. I do wish you well, kid.
Okay, take care, Bruce.
All righty. West Palm Beach, Florida. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
I am just fine, sweetheart. What's on your mind?
Well, I hope your last caller doesn't listen to this call. I just came through a messy divorce.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. I went down for the divorce, and I was in a financial position where basically my attorney was ready to cut me loose because I really couldn't afford to pay him anymore. So I basically had to take his advice and settle.
Cap City, huh?
Yeah, I really was. What happened was I was married to a policeman, and we were involved in a canine lawsuit for like a 4 or 5 year period of time.
You mean he was sued in the capacity of being a police officer?
Yes, it was back wages for taking care of the police dog.
Oh, I see.
And basically, just to round the numbers off, there were 4 police officers, and they were awarded $400,000.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not.
For taking care of the dog?
Well, it was like 2 hours a day, 7 days a week for 4 years at time and a half. So anyway, it ended up, the award basically came down, 4 men, $400,000. My husband was awarded $100,000 of the $400,000. It was basically equally divided.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
What happened was, due to his being in the middle of this divorce, he called my attorney and told him that from his attorney's office that he knew that his wife or the bill collectors were going to get the bulk of his money, so he decided just to leave $80,000 in the pot for another police officer to take, obviously to get a week after the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if there's anything, because we had a judge's order that he wasn't able to liquidate anything that he settled on, not what he was awarded, what he settled on. So he settled.
Well, what he did is so transparent. I mean, why would he give $80,000 to a buddy?
Obviously.
Obvious. So it's transparent what he did.
But unfortunately, my attorney was saying, you need to settle this thing. There's a catch. What my husband did was, during our separation, it took about 2 years, this whole process. But after I left, he went out and purchased a $42,000 Corvette and forged my name on it, and then turned around and had it repossessed.
What? I'll use the word possessed. I mean, why did he do that?
I think because, well, part of the problem was I found a birth announcement from another police officer in his police car, and she moved in with the baby, and he needed a larger car. That's all I can assume.
But why would he let it be repossessed?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, he had it repossessed like weeks before he got the money. And then he turned around and paid cash for a Lincoln. Anyway, the point is, my attorney said that if it goes through the court system, that the bill collectors are going to get the bulk of the money. So my husband's just ended up with the bulk of the money instead of the bill collectors. I'm wondering if I have any recourse.
Why don't you go talk to your old man, or your former husband?
And
say to him, look, now these are the choices. Or send somebody else. You were doing all this to stick it to me. And I understand that. I don't like it, but I understand it. But, I get a chance to stick it back to you. Now, we can let you go through this charade, and you can come up with some money for me, or we'll go to the courts. You'll get nothing, and I'll get nothing. But the way it stands now, you're getting something, and I'm getting nothing, and I'm not putting up with that.
Well, Bruce, I'm sorry. The divorce has already been finalized. I ended up with $10,000 cash. He got 2 homes, $90,000 cash, a brand new Lincoln.
Well, I think it's over then, kid.
Is it over?
I don't think you can go back. And tell you the truth, do you have children?
No.
How old are you?
33.
Get on with your life.
Should I, Bruce? $80,000 is a lot of money.
It is a great deal of money. Do you need this? First of all, there's nothing that I know of that could guarantee you're going to prevail. Let's start with that.
Okay.
Secondly, it could drag on for a couple, 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And during that 3 or 4 years, this is going to be a constant thing on your mind.
Yes.
Now, it's a lot of money, I grant you. But is it worth that kind of wear and tear on the lining of your stomach? I don't think so. It's certainly going to have an adverse effect on any, unless you're a very remarkable person, getting your life back together.
Yeah. Well,
it seems to me concentrating on getting. Do you have a lot of debts?
Oh, well, part of the divorce settlement was that we had to file bankruptcy.
How did you file bankruptcy and wind up with $10,000 and he got 90? How'd that work?
Well,
Lincoln.
He got the $90,000 because he hid it. He gave it to another canine cop. So he says that he settled for $20,000. He gave me $10,000 cash, basically on the sly. I just left town. I left town with the $10,000 in my pocket. And he's hid his $80,000.
I would, at this point, if it were me, I'd put it behind me. It's going to go down hard.
Yeah.
But all the vitriolic activity is going to have unless you're extraordinarily unusual, probably do you more harm than him.
Well, fortunately, I have a pretty strong faith, so I am able to really pretty much put it in its proper perspective. But you're right, I do. I toss and turn at night. It does still bother me.
Put it behind you, get on with your life.
It's frustrating, though, Bruce, because I went from $75,000 a year income to $9,000 a year income.
I want you to hold on just a second and explain that to me for a moment. Don't go away. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. I am chatting with a young lady recently divorced in West Palm Beach. Apparently got a drubbing, because there's always two stars to a divorce, no question about that. But apparently got a drubbing. Her husband was a police officer. You intimated that he had a child by somebody else along the way in this whole process. Is that true?
Yeah, another police officer.
Okay, well, without regard to that, I mean, there was another. He made, you said, $75,000 a year.
Well, jointly.
Okay, and now you're making $9,000. What are you doing for just $9,000 a year?
I work in the mental health field. I work. I'm a living specialist. I help.
Well, what?
A living specialist.
What's a living specialist?
Do you know what a job coach is? I basically go out and help mentally ill or mentally retarded clients with their living skills in the community.
And that only pays $9,000 a year?
I went from almost $9 an hour to $6 an hour.
Why?
I moved.
Change of venue, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I hate to break this to you, but maybe you better look for another job.
Well, Bruce, I've enrolled in school, and I'm in school, and I plan on going into architectural drafting. So hopefully, I think that will certainly.
Is there money there?
I believe so. From what the school leads me to believe.
Well, no, that's like going to the Fox and checking out the chicken coop. They may well be, but I wouldn't get my information from somebody who's going to take your money to teach you a craft.
Well, it's computer-aided drafting, so I mean...
Well, I don't know. I'm just suggesting that this is an aside, and we are going to beat it to death. Before you go out and spend a ton of money on some kind of training, be certain that training has a value.
Mm-hmm.
We had a gal call, I'm trying to think what she was... some kind of a medical assistant. And she was going to spend $11,000. She's from Florida, man, from Lutz, Florida. A couple of weeks ago she called. And we had several people call and say, my gosh, I hope she's listening. It's crazy to spend that kind of money. You go to a community college, you go on-the-job training, and so on and so forth. All I'm saying is maybe you're jumping from one hot pan to another.
Mm-hmm.
Just be confident that you can make a living at whatever it is you're training for. But most important, and that's the reason I kept you on, it's just, I think, in your best interest to get this part of your life behind you.
Let me ask you one other question.
You got about 30 seconds now.
Okay, it concerns me. Even with the bankruptcy, is my name going to show up on that Corvette that he repossessed?
And if your name was on it, without question.
Okay.
But you already went bankrupt, right?
No, I haven't.
Well, he went.
Both of us are supposed to.
Well, if you go bankrupt, as a practical proposition, that's about the worst you can do from a credit point of view, so I wouldn't worry too terribly much about it. You want to pursue it, the Ford signature, you can, but the question is, why? I wish you well, baby. I'm Bruce. This is Talknet. It's a slow process, kid.
Oh, that was my question. I
and
thought
the next
it was
thing
kind
is
of a crazy idea, but...
it's not a crazy... And there's another thing you have to realize. Do you have insurance on your car now, we hope?
Yes. In fact, I have my father helped me buy a new car, so I have to have insurance.
Well, you see, you don't have to have you have to have collision and comprehensive insurance because the lender will require that. And if you don't have it, they automatically cover you at horrendous premiums.
Yeah.
They don't do that for the liability.
No, they don't.
But the thing is, but I'm just trying to point out to you something. I'm going to beggar the obvious here. You don't have another bankruptcy coming for 7 years.
Yeah.
So if you were to go out without insurance now and do some damage, you're stuck with it.
Yeah, I know. That's another reason why I'm working on keeping the insurance and got everything caught up. So.
Look, you made a mistake, but if you ever drive a car with no insurance again, nobody should ever feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
I do wish you well, guys. It's a slow process, but trust me on this one. There is life after bankruptcy as PC country.
That's exactly right. And my name is Sue, by the way.
Yes, Sue.
I listened to you, and I heard you say something about you're able to give $10,000 to somebody without tax.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Would you like my address? Sue, you can send me a check.
I have it, by the way. What I did was I'm able to, because of my age, cash in some of my IRA.
Mm-hmm.
I took that out, and it came to my bank because I wanted to put some of that in a CD, and it came the middle of December.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my intentions are when that money comes through, I only put a 3-month CD.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give that $10,000 to my daughter as a down payment on a house.
All right, now, Phil, take a deep breath now.
Okay.
When you withdraw money from your IRA, you have to pay the taxes on the money.
All right.
That's not that is not gross dollars. You take out $1, you don't get to keep it all.
All right. So in other words, now on that $10,000 for
no, forget the $10,000 for the moment.
Okay.
Any money that you withdraw, you reach 70. You're over 59.5. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, so you can take it out without penalty.
Correct.
But you still must pay the taxes on the money.
So what were you talking about the tax then, rate?
Well, because you are allowed to give someone after you've paid taxes on your money.
Okay.
After you've paid the taxes.
Oh, what did
then
you like
you
it
can
my
give.
way better?
Pardon me?
I liked it my way better.
Oh, I'll bet you did. But unfortunately, those rascals in Washington aren't going to see it your way.
Okay.
No, what you are allowed to do is give any one person in any calendar year $10,000 without any tax on you as the donor.
Right.
If you give them any more of that, you have to do one of two things. You've got to either claim against your lifetime estate or pay gift taxes for the privilege of giving your money away. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. All right, listen, another part of that question is, Bruce, she wants to put that down on a house. And we live together now. She's a single parent, and her and I and her child live together. And she wants to buy a house. And that's going to be my donation towards the house.
Well, wait a minute. Are you going to get... All right, go ahead.
But what I want to do is, I'm going to help here and there monthly, but she's going to make the payments because it's going to actually be her house. And I told her, with this gift, what I wanted was an assurance that I'm going to be able to live in this house for the rest of my days. Now, she's single. She can meet some jerk and says, get rid of the old lady.
And they talk so nicely about you.
How
old is your daughter?
She's 34.
Okay, yes, she's very much in that marrying age, no question.
And they could say, get rid of the old lady.
That's right. Well, but their way to handle that, first of all, for $10,000, I don't know if you're... Well, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money.
I understand.
But what you can do is go to your attorney and have him prepare a document called a life estate.
Okay.
And it gives you the right to live there as long as you live. They can't sell a house. They can't do anything with it.
That's who I go to an attorney.
But the problem with that scenario is they can sure as hell make your life miserable.
No, they won't make me miserable.
Well, you'll make them miserable, huh?
Exactly.
I got you
Listen,
covered.
I learned a lot from you, Bruce.
Thank you so much for that footnote.
No, really, I love the way you're outspoken. You don't always say what you want people want you to hear, but you say what you think and the truth.
That's what I'm supposed to do.
And I think that's exactly what you really should do that.
Well, that's what this is all about. Now, the truth is another matter. I say what I believe to be true. There's a difference. I'm frequently wrong.
And I know you're on a schedule here, but the last little part is, I asked our local station when you're going to WCTC.
Sure.
When you're going to appear in our area. And you know what they asked me to do?
What they asked you?
Go down where you sell the trees. I mean, that's a silly answer.
Well, that was kind of a silly answer.
I mean, my goodness, you're right from here. Why can't you give us one of your little seminars or whatever?
Well, must be right up front, Sue. It is not cheap.
Yeah, I understand. So they probably can't afford you.
Well, no, they can. I mean, any station can afford it because the sponsors pay for it, not the stations. And some stuff. I mean, I don't know. I don't do as many as I used to. Probably 25 a year. But I don't like to handle anymore.
What's the closest?
Matter of fact, I will be doing one in Princeton, New Jersey, in the spring. I'm not sure just when, but I'll be doing one for WHWH in Princeton.
And you'll announce it?
Well, maybe not. But why don't you can just call WHWH.
Great.
And I'm sure they can tell you when and where, because I just don't know, but I do know that I will be in the Princeton area sometime.
Great. I'm happy to hear that.
Okay, baby.
We love you.
Thank you very much. Good talking to you. I wish we could have gone your way with the taxes, but I don't think the man with the whiskers would like that. Don't you forget, tonight, 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., we'll be doing our thing off the air, taking your calls and laying them down on tape at 800-743-8000. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Wheatfield, New York. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to my world.
Yes, Bruce.
You bet.
I've got a problem, and the rest of us employees, with our employer.
Let's talk.
Well, it seems like every time we're turning around, they're always coming out with a new type of piecework system where they're gaining money and we're always losing.
Talk to me.
Yeah. It's very simple. You do so many pallets, you get this rate of pay for pallets.
Mm-hmm. What kind of work do you do?
Right now I'm repairing pallets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You do these many pallets, this is your rate of pay for the day.
All right.
if you don't make it for the day, all right, it's understandable. It's going to happen. But they want to turn around and subtract 10% from your daily gross pay.
How about if you do extra?
You can do extra, but the problem is what happens if you don't have them. And many times, a lot of the pallets that come in, they're pure garbage that shouldn't even be brought in.
Well, but that's your opinion, not the management opinion.
See, with them, they really don't care because at the beginning, when they brought all these pallets in, they would pay a place to take the pallets. Then it turned, we'll just take them from you. And now what we understand is they pay them to take them. So he just
that has really nothing to do with anything. They're saying this is how much we're prepared to pay, and your answer is, I don't want to work for that kind of money. Goodbye. That's what it comes down to.
The problem is many days you can get it, but then all of a sudden, like in this area yesterday, we had a heavy snow that came down.
Right.
We go in. Nothing was ready for us to start with. So we lost a half hour waiting for them getting stuff in. Okay, it's understandable, because usually we can at times do an 8-hour job in 6, because they want from us is 1,120 based on 7 men working the machinery.
All right, whatever, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we're cutting them through the day. We run out of pallets. So we're waiting. They bring them in. Time's wasting. Now all of a sudden, we got pallets. We're working. Next thing we notice, somebody's pointing to the overhead outlet. A machine is shorting out like crazy. It gets shut down.
Look, all right, what you're telling me is that things happen, right?
And they're holding us responsible for everything.
Well, no, they're just saying that you're getting piecework. If the machine breaks down, obviously you can't keep working.
Yeah, but then they want to penalize us, too, for that.
Well, they're penalizing to the extent that you're on piecework.
Yeah, but
on the other side, I'm not telling you that what they're doing is necessarily morally correct. I don't know that. But suppose that you guys knock out double the amount of your quota. Do you get paid double?
Only if we go past, I think it's 5 amount per week.
Whatever the number is, if you go past the norm, do you get paid extra?
They will.
Well, that's what piecework is all about.
Yeah. They've been there doing it quite a while, but the problem is, if you get a couple of bad days,
I understand that, but that's
they want to blame us.
No, they don't blame you. They're just saying if you don't get the production done for whatever reason. Now there are a lot of arguments against piecework. Piecework is very similar to commission selling.
Correct.
You get paid for what you do. I was in it's no longer owned by the same management. It was Tony Lama's boot manufacturing outfit in El Paso, Texas. I never saw people's fingers move so fast in all my life. I mean, I thought they were putting on a show for me. The guy said, this is the way it is all the time, because they work on piecework. But they make a whole lot more than anybody else in the area because they're very good at what they do. But if a machine breaks down, they got to sit there. It's just the way that's part of the risk of being involved in that. The only thing is, the question is, are they paying you a reasonable amount? Are the goals set at a level where you can achieve? How much do you make a week on an hour if you just produce what you're supposed to produce?
Average?
Yeah.
320.
And if you really bust hump and the stuff is there, how much can you make?
350.
There's only that much difference? $30?
That's it. And we're wrestling pallets sometimes that weigh 100 pounds.
Well, that isn't the issue. You chose to do that. That's not the issue. The issue is you can only, even if you really bust your butt, you can only make an extra $30.
That's it.
Well, it would appear that you got 2 choices or 3 choices. You go to management, and clearly all of you, and say, we really think that there going to be an adjustment here because of whatever, or you can take a hike.
Well, they've lost a lot of good workers because of that stuff.
I'm sure.
They're really screaming about it.
Well, again, if they lose enough and there's nobody to replace them, what's the answer from management? They're going to have to raise the wages.
Yeah, because in the beginning, the wages were good. Some guys could earn as much as $1,500 a week on piecework. But then one of the owners at the time blew his top.
Well, doesn't that seem a little excessive?
Oh, those guys were really cranking hard.
Even at that, doesn't that seem excessive?
But then they changed the pay scale. They cut everything way back.
Yeah, well, I think maybe that's couldn't have cut back too far, but I think $1,500 for that kind of work, no matter how much they hump, is probably a little excessive.
Well, that's what some of the guys could do in the beginning.
Yeah, I understand, but then apparently the goals were a little easier to reach. Well, I've outlined, I can understand how you feel. And if in fact they can't get people to do it for whatever the number is, they're going to have to raise it. And that's what supply and demand is all about. Good luck, guy. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. We go now to St. Petersburg, Florida. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. Nice to talk with you. Hope you can give me some advice.
Well, thank you very much. What's on your mind?
My mom is widowed for about 6 months, and the family would like to send her on a cruise.
Uh-huh.
But we don't know exactly which cruise to wear.
Well, send her with me. I'm going on a cruise the 28th of June.
Oh, we don't want to wait that long.
Oh, my goodness.
No, we wanted, for her birthday and as soon as, possible.
Well, as soon as possible is Sunday, Saturday of next week.
Well, we want to send her for 2 or 3 weeks,
That's too long.
It's too long?
Yes, ma'am.
Why so?
Has she been on cruises before?
Yeah, but not by herself.
No, that's too long.
Too long to be by herself?
Well, by yourself or otherwise, you got to be I love to go on cruises. But about 10 days is about the max.
Yeah.
Now, we're doing a cruise in June to Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
The cruise is a week, and then you can take an extra week or two on a bus trip. That's a different matter. It breaks it up.
Mm-hmm.
But a straight cruise for 2 or 3 weeks, in my opinion, for most people, that's just too long.
Well, even getting off and...
It's still too long.
Still too long?
Yes, ma'am. Just send her for a week or 10 days. How much money do you want to spend?
That's really not a problem.
Well, how much do you want to spend? You got to give me some idea. 3, 4, 5, 6,000?
Oh, well, probably around 3.
Well, now it is a problem, man.
Really, for 10 days?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
For a good cruise.
Higher.
Well, you see, is she willing to share a cabin with somebody?
I don't think so.
Well, in that case...
So that's why. Huh?
We got to goose the number some more.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. If I were picking a cruise for 10 days for somebody who has cruised before, but she has not been there, I'd say the Panama Canal would be this time of the year you're talking about, right?
Yes, within the next couple of months. Huh?
I'd say the Panama Canal would be my choice.
Mm-hmm. And where does that... It just goes through the...
Well, not just, no, dear. They're about 10-day cruise. You start out either in San Juan or Acapulco.
Uh-huh.
And you have 10 days. You go from, let's take I did the Acapulco route this year, so I know that one of the itineraries anyway.
Started from Acapulco.
Yeah, then you get down to San Jose, out to sea for a couple of days, then through the canal, then maybe over to Aruba, Curacao, St. Thomas, maybe Grenada is thrown in there someplace.
Mm-hmm.
That's about a 10-day trip. And that's about I think that's long enough.
What about her age group? Are they going?
How old is she?
Oh, about 57, I believe.
She'll find lots of people her age. And on the cruise ships, on a lot of the cruise ships, they call them hosts. These are men who are usually in their 60s. A lot of them retired military. All of them trim, good looking, and they are. What are you laughing at?
Really?
They're paid to dance with ladies like your mother. That's all now. They don't take them to the cabin and never mind. That's a no-no.
Uh-huh.
But what they do, because let's face it, there are more women with money that can go by themselves because husbands die and women live on forever.
Mm-hmm.
As a consequence, there are many more older women than there are men of their age.
Mm-hmm.
And all the better ships have these guys.
So all the ships do.
All the better ships.
The better ships. Like the one that goes to Panama. I know you can't mention the...
Well, no, there are several. I'm just saying that's something you would ask about.
Ask about? Okay.
If they have hosts on the ship. And we're not talking about gigolos or anything of that nature. They're just... These guys go for nothing. They don't pay. They don't get paid, nor do they pay. But they dress well. They have social graces. And instead of having your mom sitting around with nobody to dance to, that's what they're there for, to dance with the women and be entertaining and that sort of thing. And that's very common.
Didn't know that existed.
Well, now you know.
But anyway, you feel the Panama Canal one is one of the better ones?
At this time of the year.
In the winter.
In the winter. I mean, I enjoy Alaska very much, as you must know.
Yes.
And I've gone on several Alaskan cruises, and we just put a new one together for the latter part of June. But well, first of all, you couldn't go there in a cruise in the wintertime because they don't have them.
And if they did have them, you couldn't get me there with a gun in my head. I mean, I don't go to Alaska in the wintertime. But it's a great summertime cruise for, you know, a lot of part of June, July, and August. It's a gorgeous cruise. It's one that I would recommend to anyone. And, of course, if you really want to go for the big bucks, you could send your mother to, say, the southern part of Spain, Canary. But now we're getting up to $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 range. If you want to spend.
In the winter, you're kind of limited too because of the cooler weather over there, right?
Well, no, that's why I'm sending it to parts of Europe when they're warm in the wintertime.
Right.
But I would think that the Caribbean and most of the Caribbean. Now there are Caribbean cruises you can go for 2 weeks too. Where what you do is you actually book back-to-back cruises. In other words, the cruises are for a week, but they have 2 different itineraries. So and the people who stay for 2 weeks just stay on the ship. They don't go anywhere.
Oh, and it goes to a different place?
That's correct. For example, there's one that I know of. In the first week, the order is not, that's, you know, important here. The first week might be St. Thomas, St. Martin, Nassau, Miami, or Fort Lauderdale. In the same ship, second week would go down to maybe Cozumel, Jamaica, the Grand Caymans, and maybe back to Florida. So you have 2 separate itineraries, and that'd be a 14-day trip. And I would imagine you could do that for the single for $5,000, $6,000, something like that.
Depending on what cabin you get.
Yeah, but the big thing is you're going to have to pay for a whole cabin for one person, or pretty close to a whole cabin.
Well, do they? The ladies, the women, do they travel? Usually share a cabin, or
some do, some don't. Those that can afford it. Oh, let's face it. I would rather not share a cabin with a stranger if I could avoid it.
Right.
But if money is a factor, and it is for most people, well, then why not? But if you get matched up with somebody you don't get along with, that could be a bit of a problem, couldn't it?
Yeah, it sure could.
And that's been known to happen. But more often than not, it works out. What the cruise lines do is they put you in touch with the person ahead of time, so at least you get acquainted on the telephone.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a totally blind experience.
Well, now this Panama Canal one, where does it go from?
Well, there are several lines. I mean, I'm just telling you one that I met.
Okay.
One of them goes the route that I just described to you.
Yeah, okay.
And then it reverses itself. You could take it from San Juan.
So you fly over to where it leaves.
That's right. You either fly to Acapulco or San Juan, one of the two. And there are others that go from, I believe, from Los Angeles, and still others from other places. I'm just picking a couple, but there are many different itineraries. But I think your mom would enjoy that. The Panama Canal trip is one. There are 2 cruises, in my opinion, in this hemisphere that if you have the resources, you ought to take. Panama Canal is one. Alaska is the second. I love the Caribbean, and I do at least one Caribbean cruise a year, and I like the islands and whatever. But those island cruises, maybe I shouldn't say they're a poor third, because that's really not true. It depends on what you're looking for. But in terms of just the magnificence of seeing something, the canal, that is just a wonder of the world, and the scenery in the Inside Passage in Glacier Bay, I don't know any place in this hemisphere where you're gonna match those 2. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Morgantown, West VA. Hello.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
Well, my husband and I are 2 people fighting the state of Ohio, and we're losing.
Oh, boy, can I empathize with you. Not necessarily with Ohio, but go ahead. What are you fighting them about?
Okay. I live in West Virginia. Always lived here, always worked here. Same thing with my husband. For the past 5 years, Ohio has been saying that we owe them taxes.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, let's start now. Let's be real clear.
Okay.
So obviously, West Virginia and Ohio are neighbors.
Yes.
I think if my memory serves me, they still are.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the company that I work for, the main office is in Ohio.
All right.
But I work in a store down here.
You have never physically worked in the state of Ohio?
Never physically worked there. My checks have West Virginia taxes taken out of them.
Right.
In 1990, I sent in West Virginia tax return. Got a refund, matter of fact. Okay. They're sending notices to the head office with my name.
Who's they?
The state of Ohio.
Yeah.
Sending notices to the address in Ohio where my main office is with my name and my husband's name.
Right.
And they send them down to me saying that I owe, beginning, $700 in taxes. We called them, told them, we don't work there, we don't live there. They said, send us copies of the tax returns that you sent into West Virginia. We did that. We've been doing that for 5 years, and every year they keep sending us notices that we owe more and more money. We're up to $1,900 now.
You're kidding.
And they've turned us into collections. And every time we call them, they keep sending, send this return in. We do that.
Okay, well, I think there's another approach to this.
Okay.
There are lots of approaches, I guess. But what I would do is I would get hold of my local assemblyman in West Virginia.
Okay.
And have him make a phone call to his counterpart in Ohio.
Okay.
And that's what your assemblyman is there for, to help you. And when he calls Ohio, he'll get some attention that you won't get.
That's good. I mean, I've talked to, the Attorney General in Ohio.
What do they say?
Actually, they now say that they have no record of us owing them any money, yet the collection agency still does.
Well, I think that if you get hold of your assemblyman, do I have to be politically correct and say assembly person?
Not with me.
Oh, boy. I'm sick of that. The assemblyman can be genderless, male, female, or a little of both.
Exactly. Why change the world after all these years?
Exactly so. But in any case, I would get hold of that person's office and explain that you'd like them to call their counterpart in Ohio to goose somebody in the revenue department to get this thing straightened out. Most politicians work with one another.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Because I know all the people I've talked to have been really rude and keep telling me that I'm wrong and just send the money in.
That's first of all, there's no excuse for them to be rude. Let's
exactly.
They are public servants whether you live in the state or not. And no matter what is said, in my opinion, they have absolutely no excuse to be rude.
Exactly.
That's for openers.
And they're really making their state look bad.
And that's not even the issue. There's a mistake, and mistakes happen in private enterprise. They happen in all 50 states, and Lord knows they happen in my studio. So mistakes happen. But the fact is that the remedy, I think, is one I described. Now, if that doesn't work, and if your guy says no, I want his name and address. We'll talk about him on the air.
Okay.
Because this is his job or her job. But if that doesn't work, if you drop me a note, I'll see what I can do for you.
Okay.
But it really shouldn't be necessary.
Great. Thank you very much.
Let me know how it comes down, would you?
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
To be continued, dear.
Bye-bye.
That's what politicians are around for. They are literally supposed to be public servants. I know a lot of them have lost sight of that, but that's another program altogether. Roanoke, VA. Hello there.
Hey, Bruce. I need your help with something.
Let's talk. Hello. All right. Daniel, everything looks hooked up here, so what happened? Why don't we take a break and maybe you can find him again? Hopefully, Roanoke, if you're listening, you'll call us back or we'll call you or something. I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around. This is Talknet. Valrico, Florida. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. Thanks for taking my call. My name is Rudy. I'm a 59-year-old retiree.
How nice. How did you retire so young and why?
Oh, I worked for 35 years, and I took a little time. I'm taking a little time off now, but I'm getting a little bored, and I'd like to get back into something, but...
what did you do for 35 years, Rudy?
Well, 35 years I was an administrator in a school system.
Oh, well, we can't start our own school system, I don't think.
Pardon me?
We're not going to start our own school system.
No, not at all. And I don't want to go back into that field. I think I've given enough of my life to...
All right.
Okay.
No more Rugrats, huh?
All right. I was interested. I had a fellow approach me regarding a business opportunity. At least that's what he says it is.
That's how he characterized it, right?
Yeah, right. Network marketing. I know nothing about it, and I wonder if you give me some of its strengths and weaknesses.
Well, I don't know very many strengths. I can give you a lot of weaknesses. What you're talking about is multi-level marketing. And he probably approached you from somebody like Amway, something of that nature?
No, it wasn't Amway.
What was the name of the company? Tell me.
2001.
I don't know them. What do they peddle?
They peddle everything from the products that they're associated with, or accessories, machines, tapes, cash registers, saws, coffee makers, anything you can imagine. They have here as a product line.
I am not. First of all, you don't have to invest much money, I don't think, do you?
No. Well, that's what I'm going to be discussing with him tomorrow. But I want to.
The thing is, that, first of all, do you know anything about network marketing at all?
No, I don't.
The downlines and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I know that it's some of its features. It's a flexible kind of employment.
No. It's not employment to begin with. Let's start with that. Secondly, multi-level marketing demands expansion.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get more people for two reasons. One, that's the premise it's built on. And secondly, there's no way for it to grow without more people. The flaw is, and I know every time I say this, I get irate letters from people who are making $2 zillion a week. And if they're making that kind of money, why are they waiting to me? The flaw is you run out of people in a hurry. Now, Amway, as an example, it's a good, solid company with good products. No question about that. And they have sort of shifted the gears a little bit where they're recruiting people to become customers. And if you can recruit more customers as opposed to actively rapping on doors trying to sell product, I don't have any great quarrel with that. And the exposure is so minimal, under $100, so what? You get material that you can always use in your own home. So I don't have any problem with that. Whether anybody's going to get rich or not is another question, and I'm not prepared to deal with that. But I certainly wouldn't criticize their product line, the shaving soap and the rest of it. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
There are other companies that I wouldn't put the stuff in my house. And there's still others. I have never heard of this outfit you're talking about. Pick up a copy of USA Today.
Okay.
The classified section D. And I can't tell you on any given day. I don't often read the classified. Generally, when I'm reading this, I'm trapped on an airplane, and I've already read the airplane book, and they don't have any. The only magazine they have is Golf Digest or something, which it has no interest to me. Then I read the classifieds, right? And you'll find a whole ton of advertising for multi-level marketing in those classifieds. And make some phone calls.
Okay.
But as far as a career guy, it might be a hobby. It might be interesting. If you have to invest any kind of important money, I tell you, don't do it.
Well, I thank you very much. This is exactly why I called you. I'm a long-time listener, and I have the highest respect for your opinions, and I appreciate it.
You're very generous. I wish you well, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Florissant, Missouri. Hello.
Hi, Bruce.
Hello there.
It's a real pleasure to talk to you. I can't believe all the years that I've listened to you on the radio, and here I am now actually talking to you on the phone.
Son of a gun. We have about 2.5 minutes to share together. Let's spend them as wisely as we're able.
Okay, I'll try to make this as quick as possible. This fall we took a vacation trip up to Manhattan, New York.
Mm-hmm.
While I was there, we took a walk. We were up on West 57th Street. I saw a shop there that specialized in jewelry, electronics, collectibles.
On 57th?
Yes.
Well, it's the most expensive street in the United States.
Well, okay, but what they did, they had a sign in the window, and the sign said on a certain brand of figurines, which I dearly love, they had a sale on them for 50% off.
Hummels or Lladro?
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to say the brand name, but it is Lladro.
Okay, I have a fairly decent accumulation of Lladro as well.
I love them. Anyway, they had a sign on there, 50% off on them, on what they had. If you paid cash, 40% if you charged it.
All right.
So I went in there and into the store, talked to the man who turned out to be the owner, and after doing a process of elimination, I purchased 3 figurines.
Okay, very quickly now.
Oh, okay. Oh my. Okay, well.
Hustle.
Okay, well, anyway, the 3 of them that I purchased on there was an invoice. On the invoice, I signed my name to it, and it said at the bottom of it that merchandise may be returned within 14 days for exchange or credit only, no refund.
Okay.
Well, what happened was after I purchased them, he told me that he would charge me for the shipping. There would be no taxes charged because I lived out of state.
Go ahead.
I purchased them. Okay, I got them home. They were fine. After I got home, there is a book, that is put out that has the retail prices.
Right.
I checked it, and there was a mistake that was made on them by $80.
Which way?
Not in my favor.
All right, but you say he was charging more, and they discounted that number.
Right.
But nobody said that they have to charge the retail. They can charge more than retail.
Well, I think, though, that the mistake that he made had nothing to do with the retail.
Well, what was the mistake? Only got a couple seconds.
Oh, man. Can I hold until I...
No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. What kind of a mistake?
Well, anyway, I've gone back to him. I've tried to call him. Now he won't even answer my phone. He promised me he'd make an adjustment to my charge. I've talked...
In that case, what you ought to do is write to your credit card company immediately, put the whole thing, even though you paid it, put it into contest and explain the circumstances, but that has to be accomplished in writing. The nature of the mistake, I wish we had more time to get into, but that's the way I would attack it. And you can attack me tonight from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. at 800-743-8000. I'm Bruce Withers. This is Talknet. These people out here, they have a rush hour at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work at 4 in the morning on the freeway, and the thing is jammed. I don't know what's going on at work at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is a whole other program. Our telephone number is 800-743-8000. We have a ton of empty lines. 800-743-8000. I would like to hear from you. I would indeed. College Station, Texas. You are number one. Hello there. But you've known you're number one for a long time, right?
Hi, Bruce.
How you doing, guy?
All right. I'm in a duplex right now. I'm renting it, and I'm looking for a roommate. And
well, Jamie is here. He says he's looking for a place to live. You need a roommate. He's ready.
Okay. Well, anyway, I was wondering, once I find somebody, what kind of agreement would you recommend?
Now, there's not much to. Well, here's the problem. What's your first name?
David.
David, you got to be very careful who you team up with, and there's
Right.
certain things that, although they cost extra, I think you may thank me for suggesting them. Each of you should have your own telephone.
Okay.
That way, he doesn't run up a big bill and decide to go, to South America for vacation for 6 or 7 years, and you got to pay his 800 or 900 calls. And furthermore, you want a way to disconnect your telephone when you're not there, so his buddies, after 2 or 3 six-packs, may not think it's cute to make all these expensive telephone calls on your telephone.
Okay.
That's for openers. Secondly, how old are you guys?
I'm 29.
All right, well, I'm trying to get to your opposed to being a college kid. One of the things you ought to consider is both of you depositing a couple 3 months bill cash with the utility company, so nobody can run out on the other guy.
Okay.
I mean, people have a habit. Roommates have a habit of disappearing, and the guy who's left, and that's you, because you're probably on the lease and so forth.
Right.
Would be stuck for the rent, stuck for the utilities and so forth. Yes, you can agree to all this in writing, and you should. Very simply, it doesn't require, a complex legal document, but something of that kind is only as good as the people that involve themselves in it. And the big thing is a telephone. You get ruined with a telephone. Telephone's in your name. Okay, we'll split the bill. He disappears, and you get a $1,000 telephone bill. Then what?
Right.
and you are legally responsible for that too. Clearly, no question about it, under the conditions that I've just outlined. That's why each of you get your own phone bill. I would agree to put up a couple 3 months in advance. Have him put that much up in advance toward the utilities.
Okay.
Aside from that, good luck. You have to, for example, do you smoke?
Yes, I do.
Well, then you better let your potential roommate know that you smoke.
Right.
A lot of people don't want to live with a smoker. You might want to find somebody who smokes, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what you...
I'm going to college right now. I'm kind of like you. I went into the Navy, and anyway, now I'm back in college. So
super. You were stupid like I am. You put it off till the last minute. The other thing, I think you should agree at least in principle, whether about guests. Can he bring his girlfriend over for the night? Can you? Okay. And that kind of stuff. Other than that, it's not real complicated. Just don't get stung. That's what I guess I'm getting at.
All right, that's why I wanted to call you beforehand instead of having to call afterwards.
And how about furniture and stuff? Who provides that?
Right.
How about the VCR? And one of the things that people fight about, roommates, is the refrigerator. That was my quart of milk, that kind of stuff. One way to solve that, if you both eat about the same, is to put so much money in the kitty, and all food monies get purchased out of that kitty.
Okay.
I wish you well, guy. Where are we going, Big Bad John? Bangor, Maine. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce. I'm
How
glad
are you
to be
doing,
talking to you.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. What's on your mind?
Well, I got a very difficult real estate situation that I hope I can explain adequately. It's kind of convoluted. Last November, we looked at a 3-unit apartment building for an owner-occupied possibility, and it was listed as such. It described the owner's unit, the access to the backyard. It was not mistakable whether one unit would have been the owner's or not. Well, when we make an offer that was, we go get the financing, the offer was approved. Months and months later, when finally he is almost done doing his work that he needs to do, the improvements for the fire code, etc., that was contingent on
The sale was contingent on all that?
Yes.
To bring it up to code?
To bring it up to code, and things that we wanted to make it livable for us.
Uh-huh.
Well, he kept stalling because he wanted to get, and I guess it's not all that uncommon, he wanted to get a letter of commitment from the bank that they would finance the purchase, and before he committed doing the work, all the expense, whatnot.
Uh-huh.
Well, just about 1 week before the close date was supposed to be, he finally admits that he has people in that unit with a lease for a year. And he went into this lease agreement with them like December, when he was showing it to us in November. You know very well. I mean, virtually the same month that he went into a contract to sell it. And as a condition, another contingency on the contract was that, one, we get copies of all rental and lease agreements.
Well, that's reasonable. I mean, so far it sounds reasonable to me.
And the other one was that we get a letter from the current tenant in the owner's unit that she would be willing to vacate within a month of closing a month after.
That's a little tricky there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an attorney representing you in this matter?
Not so far.
Not so far. Well, you should have had. And most attorneys would suggest to you that they deliver the building as you want it. If that means sans tenant, then because she could hang you up for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, no matter what she agrees to.
Right, she could do that very well.
Yes, very easily. So if you want the thing empty, you're going to use it, then you insist that it get delivered to you that way.
Well, it didn't get done that way, and she had to leave, and she's sticking to it, and so the deal's off, really.
Okay, she wouldn't sign the letter, you mean, or she signed the letter and wouldn't get out?
She wouldn't sign the letter.
Okay.
So as far as we were concerned, he wasn't able to meet all our contingencies, and the financing time period elapsed. So we never closed on it.
Okay.
Well, I go to sign the release form to get my earnest money back of $1,000, and on that release form clause it said, the contract was null and void, but also had the clause that we would hold harmless all the parties involved, including the seller. We believe that he misrepresented the property from day one because
I don't think you got to get your money back and go on about your business.
He won't. The thing is, we have money invested, and for us, it's a lot of money. It's $380 for the
application for the mortgage,
appraisal, and whatnot.
That's your hazard.
Well, we think we would have a case because of the fact that the way it was described, and also the fact that he didn't even disclose that the property wasn't even available.
Listen, there's nothing to prevent you from going to small claims court and making your case. I don't think you're going to make this one. That's my opinion. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try.
Right.
I just don't think it's going to have it's going to hold. That's all.
One of my questions for you is whether or not I would have a better case if I brought the realty company for.
I don't think you got a case. Period. The contingencies weren't met on both sides, and the deal is over. It happens regularly in real transactions, and there are some expenses to begin with, and those you eat in most cases, unless you can show the guy deliberately tried to deceive you, and I don't think you're going to be able to prove that.
Well, some evidence I might present is the fact that even through all this, he's still trying to sell it, and he's still advertising it as an owner-occupied
Well, that's fine. It is owner-occupied. Can be owner-occupied.
If he can't get rid of the tenant until November?
How many? There's other apartments, right?
This is true, but it's stated the same way.
The owner can live somewhere. I don't think you're going to go very far with this. Now, look, if you want to pursue it, go for it. I don't think the judge is going to see it your way. It is not unusual for these things to happen. Now, I'm surprised he didn't try to buy off his tenant. Say, look, I'll give you a couple of months' rent.
She did, but she was very mad at him, and she would hear of it.
Well, that case.
Selling it out from under her.
I'd go about my business if I were you. But listen, take a shot if you want to. You have little to lose with the filing fee.
You're right, it isn't large.
I do wish you well, my friend. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. All righty, we go to Chattanooga, Tennessee. Hello there.
Hello, Mr. Williams. How are you?
I couldn't be better, guy. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener to you, and I really appreciate all the information you give us every night.
Well, thank you, sir.
I need some help on something very important to me.
A honeymoon trip.
A honeymoon? You're inviting me?
Yes, please go. I may have to I wouldn't say that.
What? I hope not.
No,
what are your likes and dislikes, or do you have something specific in mind?
Well, we're planning on a trip to Hawaii, and everyone has told us different islands to travel to, and the two islands that we have kind of narrowed down to are the Big Island of Hawaii and Kauai, and want to know what you thought of each.
I think they're both very, 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 they're different, but they're very pretty. I'm surprised that you haven't tried to work in Oahu. That's where Honolulu is located, and you sort of ought to see that.
Oh, really?
We're looking. I don't mean you ought to spend 10 years there, but aside from the city itself, there's you're just scared out of my mind. The cultural. Oh golly, I forgot what they call it. It's Cultural City, the Polynesian Cultural Center, and that is certainly worth your attention. The pipeline, and I don't know what times of the year they surf, but if you take a real good pair of glasses along, the pipeline, because they're way off the coast. They don't surf right in by the beach.
Right.
That's outstanding. It's awesome to watch that stuff. But I mean, you can, how long are you going for?
Probably just 7 to 10 days, somewhere in that area.
If it's 10 days, I'd try to do the Big Island. The island of Hawaii, the Big Island, has been my favorite, personally.
Okay.
But, I mean, you'll enjoy Maui. You can't go wrong. I think it's what it comes down to. I get a big sign here from Jamie. Tell him to go to Maui. Maui is becoming more and more settled, for lack of a better term. It is not as pristine as it might have been a few years ago.
Well, we want to go someplace a lot less crowded than some of the places we've heard, and everyone has said there's just plenty to see on the Big Island, and it's less crowded, of course, depending on where you stay.
Well, I would stay on the Kona end of the island.
Okay.
And that takes nothing away from Hilo, but Hilo is the kind of the industrial business end.
Yes, sir.
And the Kona end is where the hotel, let me check that. The hotels that I would choose to stay at are at the other end. I like Kona. I enjoy myself there.
Okay. Look, can I ask you about a specific hotel if you've stayed there?
I stayed at several, and I think that would be a little troublesome. That would put me in it would be different if I thought there was only one hotel that's worth staying at, I would tell you.
Okay, well,
but that's not the case.
Well, I know that we have to fly into Honolulu to get to where we're going, and that is on the Big Island, on Oahu, is it not?
Do they not have service into Hilo? They used to.
With the
last time I was there, as I recall, that was 6 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever it was. I had to go from Hilo over to Honolulu. You're right, to Oahu.
Okay, because the flights out of the area that I'm in, and the carrier that I'm carrying, I think just fly directly to Honolulu, and then you pick up someone else from there.
What are you flying? You're going, let me see. You're in Chattanooga, right?
Yes, sir.
What are you taking? United?
Delta.
No, okay.
There is no United here.
Well, no, I was thinking you go to Chicago. I was thinking you run up to Chicago, and there's a non-stop out of Chicago.
Yeah. No, we'll be going on Delta. It's a non-stop out of Atlanta.
Is that? Well, why did I not think of Atlanta? What's wrong with me? That's a long ride too. If anybody happens to ask you.
Yeah. Oh, really?
That's a long hike, man.
Well, I know you. I don't know how many hours it is. I really haven't checked.
If I had to guess, I'd say about 8.5, 9.
Oh well, it's a long way, but we're looking forward to going. But
you're going to have a.
We knew that you traveled quite a bit out there, and we just
let me give you one piece of advice. All right? Don't try to cram 10 pounds of material into a 6-pound bottle.
Okay.
Take it easy. So if you don't see everything this time, you're a young guy. You'll see it the next trip.
That sounds great.
But give yourself this business to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you got to hustle till 11 o'clock at night to do everything. To my mind, makes no sense.
Great, Bob. I do appreciate the information, sir.
Hey, when are you going?
Looks like the middle of August right now.
You'll have a great time. You really will.
Well, we're excited about it. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams.
Okay, my friend. Have a super trip. I think that's a good advice for most people. They try to do too much in too short a period of time, and that takes away from it. Here's the guy that goes around the world in the weekend talking. New Britain, Connecticut. Hello there.
Hello there, Bruce. Long-time listener. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Well, thank you so much. What's on your mind?
Okay, I've gotten into a little bit of credit trouble a while back, and I lost my job and all that. Now I've come across this credit repair agency.
Mm-hmm. You come across?
Well, yeah, I heard it on the radio. It was a credit repair agency. And they said that they can actually take this bad credit off my record for a retaining fee, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that even though I still owe the bank money, don't worry about it because they already wrote it off as a tax return. and don't even consider about paying them back.
Well, that may or may not be smart advice. I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, I just want to know, is there a way to find out if these places are credible, or are they just going to take my money and run?
This has come up on several occasions, and it's touchy from two perspectives. The first, we have a sponsor.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to say nice things about a sponsor if the nice things are not warranted, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's going to continue to be in this program.
Right.
The fact that they buy time is not going to buy my approbation, certainly not my endorsement.
Right.
On the other side of that, if you hear a commercial in my voice, I'm pretty picky about that. And I do a commercial for an outfit that provides information how you can, in some ways, repair your own credit.
Right.
But there is absolutely no way that I know of, and no one has ever demonstrated to me, that everything carte blanche can be guaranteed to come off. Simple as that. And I don't believe anybody can do it.
Right. And
Now,
they're guaranteeing that. Also, they're also saying that if it comes back, because I was concerned about, well, if you take it off, what's preventing them from putting it back on?
Right.
He says, well, we work with you up to 2 years later.
Well, I would be suspicious of claims as broad as that.
Right.
I really would. What I have suggested to people to say to these companies that see, I'm not the one that as I do the commercial for says, look, these are things you can do for yourself.
Right.
And I don't agree with all the things they suggest either. And I told them that, and I say so regularly in the air. But having said that, there are some things under the Fair Credit Reporting Act that you have some rights and you can take advantage of them, and I don't have any great quarrel with that.
Right.
But I don't believe anybody can walk in, and if you really have a lousy credit record and the information is accurate, guaranteed to take it all off. So what I have suggested is say, look to these companies, I'd like to believe you can do what you're doing. So I'll tell you what, your fee is $300. I'll give you $600. The day that I write the TRW, Equifax, and TransUnion and find all this stuff has gone away.
Right.
Now, if somebody says, well, how in the world do we know we're going to get paid? We'll put the money in escrow with my attorney with those simple conditions.
Right.
Now, I don't see, if the company can do what they say they can do, I don't see why that would be a problem for them.
Well, their fee was much higher than that.
Well, whatever the number is. Right. I'll pay double, but I'll only pay after. How much do they want, by the way?
They want $1,100, and they guarantee they can get a bank loan for a mortgage or a credit card.
Well, a credit card is easy. I guarantee you get a credit card, too. The bank loan's another program. I'd be very, very careful. That's all I can tell you, my friend. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Hello there, I'm Bruce Williams, and you're listening to Talknet on the station that's first with news, News Radio 550, WSVA, Harrisonburg. 66. All righty, we go to Mansfield, Massachusetts. What's happening?
How you doing, Bruce?
I'm doing well, thank you, Guy. What's on your mind?
Well, I need some legal advice, and the thing is I'm a...
Let's stop right there. Hold it. I'm not an attorney. You realize that.
Okay, but I need some practical advice.
Well, practical maybe, but I can't give you legal advice.
Okay, great. Now, I'm a 50-year-old male. I have an infirm mother that's crippled. She's been crippled for the last 10 years, and I've taken care of her with my wife. Mm-hmm. I work for a Fortune 500 company, and I ended up, I came down with a case of bladder cancer. Mm. I approached my employer about that, and they took it not very well.
What do you mean they took it not well?
Well, the fact of the matter is that apparently, as I gathered, the point was the fact it's going to cost them more money in the long run to keep me on as in my professional career.
What do you do?
I was a buyer.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So, to make a long story short, this went on for a couple of years. I went through treatments. The cancer wasn't getting any better. I ended up finally, about 10 months ago, I injured my back. And ended up with a massive injury of my spine through a work-related injury. So to make a long story short, the thing is that the insurance company denied my claim. I went through 7 months with no pay.
On what basis was your claim denied?
It was denied on a bunch of non-factual things.
Was the injury sustained at work?
That's correct, yes. In other words, the insurance company said to me it didn't happen at work. There's no witnesses, things like that, down the line. And so consequently, they denied the claim. I went 7 months without any pay. Mm-hmm. And what happened was I had to unfortunately engage an attorney.
Well, why? That's nothing unfortunate about that. That's what attorneys are for.
Well, that's correct, yeah. But So now it's a situation where I've won 3 judgments against this particular company in regards to paying me, but the company keeps on going out there and fighting the claim. And apparently, as you may know, it takes probably 4 to 5 trips to court, and each time a company could keep on fighting it and fighting and fighting it.
Yeah, they're appealing, is what you're telling me.
Appealing, yes.
Yeah.
You're right. So the thing is that my major concern about this is the fact that I can keep on going through the appeals and things like that, and there's probably no problem because the courts usually are in your favor, and I do have a massive injury. But now I'm sitting here at 50 years old. Jobs are not good in the United States to get. They're not easy to get. And consequently, I'm at a crossroads in my life where when I do recover, hopefully, what do I tell a new employer? Because I don't want to lie to them, but how do I get another job?
Chances are you won't.
That's what I've been told.
Well, those are the realities, but that doesn't mean the end of the world.
No, I'm sure it
Well,
does.
hold it. Well, no, what's your first name?
My first name?
Yeah.
Is John.
John, here's the thing. There are any number of relatively modest enterprises that a guy that you have something against you, you're 50 years old. You got something for you, you're 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The for you is you got a lot of experience and maturity and things that you can bring to bear that the guy 25 just simply cannot because he hasn't got the scars that come with maturity and experience. There are lots of small businesses that you can get into. And oftentimes, the reality is you got to buy a job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the worst thing in the world. It really isn't. As a matter of fact, it may turn out to be a blessing for you, and I don't try to sound like Pollyanna.
I thought in those terms, too.
You get off into something else that's new, it's different, it's stimulating, it's challenging. And, I'm involved in a number of enterprises, as I guess you may know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the ones, and I've been doing this. We just had a photo session before we went on the air, and the photographer asked me, how long you been in this business? I said, 19 years. That's a long time. The longest thing in my whole life, I had never done anything for 19 years except breathe and live until I got in this racket.
That's
but
right.
this has been ancillary to my regular life. That would be disingenuous to say it's not a major part of it, given the time and the money that's involved. But nonetheless, I still have a regular life. I own other businesses and I involve myself. The point being, I have some that I've been doing for a long time. And I guess they throw off a couple pennies. It's better than, panhandling.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no real stimulation for me. It's routine. I go in and do whatever I got to do and get the hell out.
Mm-hmm.
We started, I say we, meaning my son, daughter, and a very, very gifted young man. There are 4 of us. We're in the nightclub business right now. Now, man, I'm having a blast in that. It's new, it's stimulating, it's something I've never done before. You see where I'm coming to?
I understand where you're coming from, but at the moment right now, Bruce, is the fact that, first of all, I will end up with a settlement, and probably a healthy settlement because of the massive injuries I have to my back.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same token, when you go out there and you invest that type of money, in other words, you're investing for your future, but if you end up failing, what are you going to do? Because you don't have Social Security either as a retirement.
Why don't you?
Well, you have to put in a number of times of hours of credit.
You've got that in already, I'm sure. If you didn't do a tap 1 for the rest of your life, you still have Social Security.
That's something I have to look into, Bruce.
Well, I'm telling you, I'd be willing to gamble it. You have the quarters. The time is already put in. How long did you work for your last employer?
10 years.
How much did you earn?
$800 a week.
You're already in for the max right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you have anything to worry about there.
Well, that's good to know.
The max may increase and you may not, but you're in for the max, I would think, right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that life is full of opportunities to fail. And if it was all sure things, that we'd all be zillionaires, and that's not possible.
That's correct. Yeah.
No, I'm not telling you to go out and just willy-nilly invest your money and gamble. I'm not saying go to Las Vegas and put it in the don't pass line, nothing of the kind.
Mm-hmm.
But there are business opportunities out there which, although there's always the possibility of failure, using your good business judgment and not rushing in, but on the other hand, not being too timid, you can reduce the possibility of failure down to a very reasonable tolerance.
Uh-huh. Well, I certainly appreciate hearing from you about this because it gives me some insight anyway. Because
I think those are the realities, John. I mean, there are a lot of people you could call, particularly in radio programs. Say, "Don't worry, kid. There's the Americans with Disabilities Act, and they got to hire." Nonsense. It ain't going to happen. But the world is full of opportunities.
Well, one of the things, if I re-engage employment, the fact of the matter is, what I do not want to do is go out there and lie to an employer.
I understand that.
And yet, on the same token, it's your kind
if you don't lie, you're not going to get a job.
Well, you got that straight.
Well, those are the realities, kid.
That's true.
That's why if you're the boss, you don't have to lie to yourself.
That's right.
John, I wish you well.
Well, I appreciate your call.
Been good talking to you, Guy. Bruce Williams. A lot of folks will disagree with that one, but that's the way I see it on Talknet. All righty, we got a WHO country. That's Des Moines, Iowa. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hello, sweetheart. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you?
Couldn't be better.
Good. I and a friend and I, a significant other, and I are going on a cruise at the end of next month to celebrate my birthday.
Well, how nice.
And neither one of us have ever been on a cruise before, and we're going to San Juan and St. Martin and St. Thomas. And we're looking for some good Bruce Williams travel tips.
Well, what would you like to know? You're going to places that I have been to many times. Matter of fact, the cruise that I am next taking, which is in October of this year, goes to the same places plus Nassau.
Yeah, I just heard about that.
Yeah, I know the cruise you're going on. I know you're probably going to. I know this cruise line you're going with too.
Probably.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, you probably do.
Okay. Have you been to any of the places that you have just mentioned to me?
No, not at all.
All right, you're going to get relatively little time, if I remember correctly, in San Juan. Something like 12 hours.
Yeah, something like that.
And you've not been there before.
No.
Well, if you only go, first of all, you realize, well, no, you probably don't realize. That's unfair. You'll be going into the old San Juan area.
Okay.
That's where the port is. All right.
Okay.
I would not kill myself trying to shop.
All right.
It doesn't mean you shouldn't shop. And Old San Juan is a charming little place to wander around in.
Mm-hmm.
I would do my best if I were you to go out to El Muro. It's a national park. Doesn't cost you a penny to go there. It's Moro Castle, and which you can see on the way in off the ship. It guards or did guard the harbor of San Juan for the last 350-400 years, however long it's been there.
I see. Okay.
Built by the Spanish, and it's truly a great example of that architecture, and I think it's worth your attention. If you have the time and you're there at the appropriate times of the day, from the same area where the ship is, you can take a little ferry for next to nothing, and you can go over and then you take a shuttle bus, and I forget, that's $2 or $3 a head, something like that. You can go over to the properly pronounced Bacardi or the Bacardi rum distillery.
Oh.
And you can take it. They have a tram that takes you through, and they give you a couple of free drinks, and you can see how rum is made. That's kind of nice.
Oh,
I'm keeping in the same area, okay? The two hotels that I prefer, the closer of the two would be the Caribe Hilton, which again just borders Old San Juan. You might want to go down there. The bar is charming. The restaurants are okay. But the bar is very, very pleasant to sit in and have a pina colada or whatever. It's out near the swimming pool is just outside the bar, and of course there's a casino there if you have the urge to play.
Oh yeah.
That would pretty well take up your day in San Juan.
Okay.
When you get to St. Thomas, that's where I would be inclined to do the biggest part of my shopping. The bargains are not as they were 25 years ago, but that's okay. You still you got to be a little careful with the things like emeralds and whatever. The prices are okay, but you probably do this as well in Des Moines.
Okay.
All things considered, and cigarettes are cheap. The best buys you can make on liquor would be liqueurs. If you like Grand Marnier and that kind of stuff, Grand Mariner, you know what I'm talking about. You are allowed a double exemption from things that you buy in the Virgin Islands. It's a territory, and you get a special exemption in terms of excise tax.
Oh, okay.
You can, if you have the time and the inclination, again, you can take a little ferry boat over to St. John, where there's an underwater national park for scuba diving. If you were a sailor, you can, although you have to do it in advance, you can rent a boat out in Red Hook. There are a number of restaurants, depending on what time of night you leave there. The Moffoli up on the side of the mountain gives you a gorgeous view of the harbor at night, which is just worth the trip up there. Bluebridge Castle. I'm not sure they still have it. They did have a very fine French restaurant. When you go there for lunch, it's hamburgers and hot dogs, nothing very special.
Mm-hmm.
But in the evening, I think the French restaurant that they did have, and then there's the Fig Leaf. There's another of the better restaurants in St. Thomas.
Okay.
Then we slip over to St. Martin, the French half of the island. You will be docking on the Dutch side. But the best restaurants far and away are on the French side of the island.
Okay.
When you get off, there's about a $3 shuttle ride, and you could go downtown, walk up down the street, and there's all kinds of bazaars and all that kind of jazz. The beaches are without peer, no question about that.
Really?
Yeah, the beaches are magnificent. There are some casinos there. I wouldn't recommend them to you, but they are there.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get some very, very fine French cuisine on the French side of the island.
Okay.
And as far as the ship itself is concerned, just enjoy yourself. The only thing you have to pay for really is your booze.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is included. Your soft drinks too, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is included.
What kind of weather can we expect? I mean, we're going at the end of July.
Weather will be gorgeous.
It's going to be just perfect?
Well, it's going to be hot. It's my kind of weather.
It's going to be better than Des Moines, isn't it?
Well, it's going to be hot, but the thing is, when you're at sea, you get lots of breeze.
Mm-hmm.
And even on the islands, generally speaking, there's usually a breeze, although San Juan can be pretty hot in the summertime. Well, all three islands can be pretty hot in the summertime. Who's kidding who?
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, as you're talking to someone. WBIG Country, Aurora, New York. Hello there.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, actually.
Illinois, excuse me.
How are you this evening?
I am real well, thank you.
Good. I had a question regarding I'm in the process of buying my first home.
You're not.
Which is a nightmare, and I swear to God I never want to do it again.
Oh, come on. How old are you?
28.
Come on, baby. You're going to probably buy 2 or 3 or 4 before it's over. Really?
It's awful.
Nah,
I would not wish this on my worst enemy.
I beg your pardon?
I would not want to wish this on my worst enemy.
Well, what's the problem? Why are you having such trouble?
First of all, it's very confusing. I mean, really, I guess there are books out there to tell you where to begin. You know, what process and where to start. That's kind of confusing to begin with. But figuring out who you can and cannot trust in this process to begin with is kind of difficult as well.
Well, there are certain things I think you can do to protect yourself. Understand, what is your first name?
My name is Mary.
Mary, nobody can protect themselves against every possibility.
Right.
When you walk across the street, there's probably an errant bus, and that's all for Mary.
Mm-hmm.
But on balance, it's not such a... what do you do for a living, Mary?
I work for a radio station.
Oh, my goodness gracious. What do you do for the radio station?
Oh, actually, I do quite many different things, actually. I'm account executive. I run the board, programming, production.
Do the windows, clean the bathroom?
Yeah, take the garbage out.
I've been there. All right, now, let's use that can we use that as an example?
Sure, you may.
If you went to work some morning and you find out there are 17 guys that want to call because they're not happy with whatever their spots are running, and there are 3 that got to get on the air by 11 o'clock that morning, and you find out that the board is really screwed up and the board op the evening isn't coming in, so guess who's got to do it and so forth. It's all overwhelming, isn't it?
Yes, I have many of those days.
Sure you do. But the way to attack those days is to chip away at them one spot at a time.
Right.
If somebody asked you to move a ton of dirt, you couldn't pick it all at one time, but one shovel at a time, it can be done over a period of time. Same thing is true with buying a house. We'll do it one shovelful at a time. That's what it comes down to.
How do you know where to begin? And what I want to see if I am covering my...
No, we're going to talk about that. Well, first of all, you got to find a house.
Mm-hmm.
That's for openers. And that can be an arduous task, and we have to make some primary decisions, don't we? Correct. We have to decide whether we're going to buy a single-family home, which is likely.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to find out, are we going to buy what is called a stick-built, or a wooden home, or a prefab? Maybe that wasn't a consideration for you. We're going to be buying an existing home, or a previously owned, or what we euphemistically call previously owned.
Correct.
I don't think I ever bought a new house for myself. Bought a couple for investments, but never for me. I just never have. I've been very comfortable buying, used homes. They were just fine for me. We got to talk about price clearly.
Right.
We got to talk about the way we're going to finance this thing. Then we get into the financing. That has a lot of permutations. Should we go ARM? Should we go fixed? We're going to try to go private. Are we going to go FHA, VA, conventional? Do we need PMI, private mortgage insurance?
Yikes.
Well, those are all decisions. But you see, if we spit all that stuff at you in a hurry, it seems overwhelming.
It is.
But if we attack them one at a time in the sequence, and sequentially, if you wrote all that stuff that I just threw at you down, a lot of it would get scratched out pretty doggone quick, wouldn't it?
Right.
Okay.
I think I did it backwards.
All right, talk to me. What did you do?
I applied for financing first.
Well, you can do that. It's not necessarily backward. It makes you a serious buyer. You know that you get the money.
Right. And that's what I wanted to see, what I could afford before I even start looking.
Okay, are you married?
No, I'm single.
All right, what do you earn?
Not a lot.
That's a great answer. What do you earn? Not a lot. Let me see. On the application, Mary Smith, earnings, not a lot. That's going to get you a long way, baby.
Not a lot at all. And actually, I work 2 jobs. So basically, maybe with the 2 combined, I make maybe about $22 a year.
All right, fine. Now, in your part of the world, well, let me ask maybe a more fundamental question. Why do you want to buy a house?
Well, actually, I've lived with my folks for quite a bit, and they sold their house and moved to a warmer state.
Well, that shows that your parents have rare perception.
So, as opposed to renting, I would be spending the same amount for rent in this area.
Well, that's not necessarily the case.
I had decided to buy.
Okay, but your statement is not necessarily a valid one. It could be.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily valid. Now, in your case, you see, I'm going to flip switches here and rush. If it were me and you were my kid and you were asking me what to do, I'd tell you buy a 2-family house.
Like a duplex?
Like a duplex.
That's exactly what I'm buying.
Well, son of a gun, smart girl.
Actually, it's half of a duplex.
No, I buy the entire duplex. I would not buy half. Under no circumstances would I buy half.
Oh, great. Why?
Well, because I just think that's a mistake, but that's a personal prejudice.
Uh-huh.
I think you ought to own the whole thing. Now, how much are you going to pay for this half?
76.
Oh! That was my heart. You had to stop now. You got to hear a little resuscitation. And you're way out of your league.
Don't tell me that.
Oh, I won't tell you that. You're way out of your league.
Oh, no.
You're talking about 3.5 times your annual income.
Mm-hmm.
That's too much.
Well, now, how can they give me a loan then?
Well, look, the fact that somebody is willing to loan you money doesn't necessarily mean it's the appropriate amount of money, baby.
Great.
Way too much money. You're going to be eating so much spaghetti unless you have one hell of a good boyfriend. I'm serious.
Oh, great. But don't you think that, investing as far as, don't you think building equity and...
No, man. First of all, I think that this is a generational thing.
Mm-hmm.
You were raised during a time when everybody bought houses, and like your parents,
mm-hmm.
and they went up automatically. Just as certain as radon goes to the sky, your houses went up, but that's not the case today. You can buy a house today anywhere, and you're talking to a guy who's done it with amazing alacrity. Bought property for A, and it's now worth A minus,
mm-hmm.
or A minus minus minus. And there are lots of people out there that did so, particularly those who bought property during the latter part of the 80s.
Interest rates are very high now.
Well, without regard to that, you cannot afford, unless you got a ton of money stashed away. I doubt that's the case.
No, I don't.
You can't afford $70,000. Well, it's just too much money. You start to do the payment thing. What are your payments going to be?
$690.
$700 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on top of that, this is going to come as a huge shock. You got to heat the place from time to time.
Right, and that's the problem I'm having with buying it. Now, I made an offer. She has accepted.
Oh.
And
you stole my heart. Listen, before you get any further, right?
Uh-huh.
That's $8,400 a year basic payments. Before we get into repairs and so forth, that's over half of your take home. We're pretty close to it.
I guess you get out of it?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
And rent?
Not necessarily, but
for this area, that's really cheap. I couldn't find nothing unless I went to a condo.
Well, wait a while. First of all, you want to live as good as you live with your parents.
Right.
Well, you can't do that. You haven't earned that.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet.
Right.
Well, you may have to kind of scale back.
To what?
I told one of my kids what he did was he bought in a slum.
Essentially, and maybe that's not a fair, in a not a very good neighborhood out of that. And he fixed the place up, and gee, it was amazing. The guy next door said, hey, those houses look pretty good if they get painted and the lawn gets taken care of. And the whole neighborhood started to come back.
Right.
Interestingly, he moved away, and the neighborhood went right back to hell again. This is absolutely gospel truth.
Wow.
But the point is, you cannot afford what you're talking about, baby. I mean, there's no point in us beating it. I could sit here and stroke you and tell you what an ambitious lady you are. You got 2 jobs to bring in 22,000, I think it was a year.
Yeah.
There ain't no way you can afford that house. No way, Jose, period. That's the end of that soliloquy.
Is it too late to get out of that?
I don't know that. Was your financing approved?
Not yet. That's what I'm waiting for.
If the banks have any brains, whatever, they will not approve it.
Well, actually, I had to get a cosigner.
Have the cosigner back away.
Really?
The cosigner. Now, everything you just said, or that I just said, was just endorsed. Why? How'd they endorse it?
What do you mean?
Well, what they said was, Mary, baby, there's no way we're going to loan you this money.
Right.
A cosigner is their loan to the cosigner, not to you. Your cosigner was your parents, right?
Actually, it was my brother.
Or your brother. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
But did he cosign yet?
Not yet.
Hold it. That's a yes or it's a no. It's like being pregnant. You can't be halfway. Did he cosign yet?
Well, yeah.
What do you mean, yeah?
I mean, as far as applying for the financing and that, yet he signed a contract for...
he signed the contract?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an attorney, Mary?
Yes.
Well, I'd get to my attorney and tell him you want to kill this deal.
Really?
And find a way to wiggle out, whether it's your brother gets cold feet or whether he's suddenly faced with a job transfer because you have an obligation, or you lost your part-time job. You have an obligation to notify the lender if there's any change in your status.
Right.
The change should be a negative change.
Okay.
One that's going to discourage them from loaning you money.
Okay.
Because the last thing you want to, this is just a bad deal for you. And you know what's going to happen, Libby?
What?
Your brother's going to wind up making some of the payments.
Oh, God, no, don't say that.
Well, honey, you're not going to be able to handle it. You've been living with your parents, right?
Yeah.
Up until now.
Mm-hmm.
For how long?
Well, basically for about 25 years.
Your whole life. Your whole life.
I did move away for a couple of years.
All right. But you've been living with your parents,
and I
right?
had second income.
Okay. How much money you got in the bank?
Pardon me?
How much money you got stashed right now?
About $6,000.
All right. How come you don't have 40 or 50? If you were saving money at the $700 a month that you weren't paying in rent, you'd have a ton, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would.
Well, you're living on it, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
Well, what are you going to live on when the party's over?
I blew a lot of it.
Well, that's all right, but what are you going to live on when the party's over? The answer is you don't have enough money. Not even close.
Right.
So kill this deal, and then you and I can talk again.
Okay.
But this one could kill you.
Thank you. That's my call.
Strangle
Gut feeling tells you one thing, and, first of all,
listen,
nobody tells you anything.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, okay, I don't want to borrow this money if I can't afford this.
Well, honey child, take it from one who knows you cannot afford it. I do wish you well. I'm Bruce Withers. This is Talknet. All righty, we're going, oh my goodness, to one of the colder parts of New York State, Ithaca, New York. Hello there.
Hi.
A little drafty in your part of the world, isn't it?
It's getting very drafty, actually.
How, just make me feel almost good. How drafty?
I can't actually remember the latest temperature, but I think it's going to get down to 0 to 5 degrees in the next few days.
You poor child.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of cold.
Now, listen, I'll send you a box of sunshine.
Oh, well, thank you.
What's happening?
Actually, I'm calling for some suggestions and advice. I recently moved to the area, and...
From?
Maryland.
Okay.
And I'm trying, I have a cold, excuse me, and I'm trying to find out other ways, other than the ways I've gone about, to obtaining a teacher's position. I'm certified in New York as well as Maryland.
You are?
Elementary education, yes.
Okay. That's the toughest place to find a job.
I found that out.
Well, no, that's really the toughest place. I think some of the secondary jobs are even more difficult because people get ensconced in those and just, it's a lifetime sinecure. But it's very difficult because, well, how old? You sound like you're relatively young. How old are you?
I'm 23.
Yeah, you're very young. Okay.
Yeah.
A generation ago, well, you know one of the major things that's changed the teaching job?
What is that?
Birth control. I'm very serious.
You're
I wasn't
right.
meant to be facetious.
No, you're right.
I was in the school business. I owned a private school. I have a couple degrees in education.
elementary jobs was called, I don't know if they still call it general elementary. It was from K through 8, I think it was.
Yeah, for New York, I'm certified 1 through 6.
Okay, well, I was by the similar certification, somewhere in that ballpark. Never used it, by the way. But the point being that there was a considerable turnover. First of all, most of the jobs were held by women.
Right.
That is not the case today. There are many men that are teaching elementary school. Certainly, there's still, I guess it's still fair to say most are women, but there are many more men than there were a generation ago.
Yes.
That's for openers. Secondly, women did come and go. And when I was hiring teachers, when about the time you were getting around to being born, well, it's true.
Yeah.
We lost them to more than anything else to pregnancy.
I've noticed that
And
too.
but today with more what's the term I'm searching for? Effective, I guess, methods of birth control, and more acceptance of birth control.
They're waiting longer.
That's right. So you don't have the turnover that you had. And as a practical matter, although lots of folks in education decry the salaries, they ain't so bad.
No, they're not.
I mean, there are people in elementary education. I know some folks who are making $60,000 a year, and that's not exactly chopped liver.
No, that's a very decent salary.
Yes, indeed. I mean, that's with 20 years experience. Don't misunderstand me. But
Right.
but nonetheless, those salaries are out there. It's certainly in the north and northeast, and probably the west. I don't know about some of the southern states would be a little bit less,
right?
And some of the far western mountain states. But the point being that these jobs are not being given up anywhere near as lightly as they once were, and that's what you got to fight. And the answer in terms of getting involved is: are you on every sub list that's available? I take it you moved there because be a husband or something of that nature.
That's right.
Okay. You got to get on every sub list that you can.
Okay.
Because that gets you noticed, and if you're good, the word will get around. You can probably find a position in a private school a little easier for a whole lot less money and less benefits. We all know that.
Right.
But it's better than being on the breadline.
Well, I did preschool, and I'm getting ready to leave that, actually, and I'm working on getting on all the sub lists.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, before I did that because I was getting nervous because of student loans.
The ubiquitous student loans.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, but before I did that, I went around to all of the schools in the area with a resume and a cover letter, and just to get my face in the door. And then I thought, maybe I need something more instant.
Not really. You want your application on file in every district, because each district hires independently, as I'm sure you know.
Right.
And you want your application, your credentials, your certification, and all the rest of it on file with every district within whatever distance you're prepared to commute.
Before it wasn't too much. Now I'm willing to go quite.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I'm considering Pennsylvania. That's not so far.
For Ohio, maybe Indiana. Indeed. It's with all of the talk, it's not as easy to get a job because the job is not looked upon as being particularly undesirable.
No, it's really...
Where it might have been some years ago.
I was so excited after student teaching, and then wow, what a realization was hit today.
Well, and there's something else you might want to. What's your first name?
Kate.
Kate, you might want to consider something else.
What else?
That's getting into another area of ed. For example, I think you'll find that special ed teachers are far more employable. Have you not found that to be the case?
I've noticed that in the classifieds, there's always positions available for them.
Exactly so. I was a special ed major, as it happens.
Well, I was thinking about that, but I was wondering about how I could afford that.
Well, the question maybe is, can you afford not to?
That's an important question. Right now, I think that I see two issues. I think I almost can't afford to. I should go back and consider special ed or speech pathology.
Yes, I think you'd probably do better in speech therapy than you would pathology.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure you know the distinction.
Yes, I do. You're right.
The speech therapy, again, is an area where there are probably more jobs than there are people to fill them. And in terms of special ed, in some districts, not every